An album record drifts over Earth. A space station explodes in orbit. He asks if the recording works. Major Dong Young-soo, crew member 67 of the Atalante, begins recording a message he hopes will reach Earth. He shares some very unfortunate news. He mentions the Arcadia mission, which was humanity's plan to relocate to an alien planet. Young-soo reports that the mission failed. Destruction reflects in his space miser. Humanity decided to abandon the Earth. Rockets launched toward a new home. Their destination was planet Kepler 3265b. The world was codenamed for Paradise. He explains that the Atalante was partially destroyed by an unidentified attack, leaving the hibernating crew presumed dead despite arriving at a green Arcadia. Young-soo floats helplessly among the wreckage. He hopes his voice reaches Earth and asks that people remember the lost crew of the Atalante. He wonders if any crew survived in escape pods, but questions if it matters since he will be gone soon anyway. Something strikes his reaching glocked hand. He finds his guitar in space. Young-soo reflects on how he thought he would finish his album by the time they reached Arcadia. As classic albums drift through the debris, he thinks that making music until death would have been a nice way to go. He grips the guitar neck tightly. The astronaut expresses deep personal regret. A suit alarm startles the astronaut. A display confirms a pod's arrival. He reacts to an approaching pod. An escape pod approaches the survivor. Young-soo enters the pod with guitar. The heavy pod hatch closes shut. Atmospheric entry tosses him around violently. An automated voice instructs the crew member to secure himself firmly inside the pod. The system explains that pulling the lever will initiate the escape sequence in the direction of gravity. Realizing he was too lost in sentiment, Young-soo decides he cannot die recklessly and pulls the lever. The pod burns through the sky. A vast red floral field appears. Parachutes slow the pod's rocky descent. The pod impacts the alien ground. The pod rests an equator. Young-soo blows the hatch and notes that the planet's gravity is making his head spin. Butterflies drift over red foliage, resembling a scene from heaven. He concludes that since this place looks better than hell and he is not in heaven, he must have arrived at Kepler 3265b. Young-soo climbs out of the wreckage. He continues his audio record, stating that crew member 67 has arrived on Arcadia via an emergency landing at estimated noon. He reports that the atmospheric oxygen concentration is 12% and notes the visible red flower fields. He spots a person standing nearby. A masked figure watches the crash.
Young-soo asks the stranger if they are a crew member and demands to know their name and rank.
Viscous saliva drips onto his visor. A massive alien monster looms overhead. The creature readies its sharp claw. An alien tail strikes toward him. Young-soo impacts the alien soil forcefully. The survivor slides across the sand. He identifies a new monstrous threat. He wonders if such a large arthropod exists and decides to avoid it. An oppressive red eye tracks him. He realizes evasion is no longer possible and readies his blade. He secures his grip on the weapon. The astronaut braces for the incoming assault. He plants his feet in the dirt. The monster's massive tail slams the ground. He narrowly avoids the crushing tail strike. He groans as the impact tosses him. The monster hurls the astronaut into the sky. He quickly assesses his mid-air trajectory. He fears a fatal head-first collision. He manages to land on the beast's head. He drives his blade into the creature. He targets the monster's eyes. His reflection glimmers in the monster's eye. He readies a desperate physical sect. The creature roars in agony as he strikes its eye. He continues his assault on the creature. The monster slams him onto the ground. He curses his dire and painful situation. A targeting system locks onto the monster. A masked sniper takes careful aim. A high-powered shot pierces the monster's skull. The creature recoils from the surprised attack.
The monster roars in immense pain.
The warrior runs with their heavy weapon. They charge toward the wounded beast. A red blade slashes the creature's line. They cleave through the monster feg. They deliver a crushing overround blow. The warrior strikes with the weapon sap. They quickly chamber another powerful round. Purple blood sprays from the lethal strike. The warrior stands victoriously over the beast. The massive creature finally falls silent. The exhausted warrior leans on their weapon. Young-soo begins to express his gratitude. The masked figure turns and walks away. He watches the mysterious warrior depart. He reaches out to stop the stranger. He observes their cold but human mannerisms. He drops his knife to the ground. The masked figure asks if he is an earthling. He notes the stranger's human resemblance. He decides to reveal his identity. He reveals his face to prove his humanity. The mysterious warrior exhales heavily. She secures her massive heavy weapon. She slowly reaches for her mask. Young-soo watches her with intense anticipation. She reveals a face with blue skin. Young-soo notes that whether it is him or the monster that attacked, they are both alien life forms to this blue-skinned species. He wonders why she did not attack him and questions if it is because he visually resembles her kind. As she offers a canteen, he worries that drinking unknown liquids could be dangerous for his biology. He mentally lists common room temperature liquids like ethanol, hydrochloric acid, and methanol while assessing the risk. The blue-skinned woman draws a water molecule in the dirt to identify the contents of the canteen. She looks up expectantly from her dime. Noting the 12% oxygen concentration, Young-soo decides he can safely open his helmet briefly to drink. As he drinks, he reflects that English would likely be the first information an intelligent alien would discover from Earth. A man in a suit explains that it is recommended to use educated dictionary English when communicating with extraterrestrials. Young-soo prepares to return the canteen. Young-soo extends his hand and greets her by saying it is nice to meet her. The woman reacts with shock and utters the word "Lingit" as she stares at him.
She struggles to mimic his speech, repeating the words "nice to" back to him.
A heavy vehicle rumbles through the fields. An armored transport truck speeds away. The truck hauls the massive monster's carcass. The vehicle kicks up red best. Riding inside, Young-soo thinks he was lucky to reach this planet, which he learns is called Boomy. He looks at the blue-skinned woman as he learns a devastating truth. He reports the grim fact that the planet Boomy will be destroyed in 5 years. The vehicle continues its journey across the field. Young-soo records that although he arrived at the target planet alone, the time left here is short. Young-soo sits behind the woman as she drives. They travel across the vast alien landscape. The truck approaches a massive industrial facility. They enter a dark, heavy-duty hangar. The transport moves onto a mechanical truck. A massive elevator platform begins descending. A large metal gate slowly opens. The doors fully retract to reveal the interior. Bioluminescent mushroom-like plants glow in the dark. They arrive at a subterranean base. The blue-skinned woman walks across the platform. She speaks into a radio, identifying her location at Boomy number. She reports into the receiver while Young-soo watches. The woman stares down with a silent expression. A mechanical hum fills the air. A laser tool begins cutting the monster. The woman begins processing the massive kill. She pulls a heavy, dark segment away. She tosses a piece of meat down. Small mushroom creatures swarm the meat greedily. Young-soo observes that the mushrooms on this planet react quickly to food, much like animals. He wonders if they grow these mushrooms as a primary source of food. Young-soo decides that helping her could be advantageous for building the familiarity he needs to survive. Lengit points while Young-soo watches. Young-soo walks away with creature parts. Lengit exhales heavily, wiping off the rat. She stands over the blood-spattered platform. The blue-skinned woman turns to the astronaut and thanks Dong Young-soo for his help. They stand together in heavy founds. Young-soo looks away, thinking that they need to find some way to communicate. Lengit walks away while calling out Dong Young-soo's name in her language. Lengit stands at a control console, identifying herself as number 1 in her tongue. She continues her report as Young-soo approaches her position. She repeats her designation into the communication device. Lengit speaks into a radio as Young-soo watches her work. Several small handmade animal carvings sit on a workbench. Young-soo picks up a carving, thinking it is cute and asking Lengit if she made it herself. Lengit quickly snatches the carving from his hand. Lengit reacts with a panicked, flustered expression.
Young-soo worries that she might be angry because he touched the carving.
He observes her reaction and realizes she actually seems very flustered. He considers that complimenting her work could help them connect, but struggles with how to do so without words. Recalling that a smile is a universal sign of feeling good, he prepares to use his facial muscles for the first time in a long while. Young-soo produces a terrifyingly aggressive smile, which he immediately realizes is a total failure. He reflects that a thumbs up might not be understood, as it originated in Roman gladiatorial arenas. He considers that the OK sign is offensive in some cultures, but decides to try a heart gesture since it represents a heart even in ancient Chinese characters. Young-soo forms a heart with his gloved hands. Lengit stares at the astronaut's hands in shock. Young-soo holds the heart gesture and says the word "Goodtar." Lengit continues to stare at him with wide eyes. He keeps the heart held as Lengit offers the carving back to him. Lengit holds the carving out and calls it a balaya. Young-soo wonders if balaya is the name of the carving. A close-up of the small hand-carved creature. Young-soo thinks the carving is well made while Lengit blushes and hides her face. Young-soo introduces himself to her by repeating his name. Lengit smiles and gestures toward her workstation. They both look at a glowing display on the console. A screen shows a photo of the real creature, which Lengit identifies as a balaya. Young-soo realizes balaya is the name of the animal and thinks the carving of it was cuter. Lengit shows him another fluffy-headed animal and calls it a yarapa. She lists several more alien species, identifying them as Bengkong, Rumkong, and Kadao. Lengit excitedly talks about the animals while holding her carvings. Young-soo thinks she must really like animals and notes that these unfamiliar words are difficult to memorize. He observes that the cute animals on the screen feel very different from the monster he fought, and he wants to know what that threat was. Lengit mimics the heart gesture and asks Dong Young-soo what he likes. Young-soo searches his electronic device, wondering if he has a photo to show her. Young-soo holds out his device and tells Lengit to look at it. He shows her a photo of a calico cat he calls Kongdaki, excitedly exclaiming that it is incredibly cute. He recalls the man in the suit advising him to use educated English when contacting aliens. The suited man emphasizes the word educated with a stern look. Young-soo realizes he got too excited seeing his cat and hopes his choice of words will be fine. Lengit stares at the cat and struggles to repeat the astronaut's profanity-laden praise. Young-soo watches her try to process his words.
Lingit struggles to repeat the astronaut's vulgar praise for the cat.
Young-soo realizes he must be far more careful with his vocabulary. He notes that a love for animals is a common trait. He reflects that being passionate about interests seems to be universal. He prepares to show her a hobby of his own. Young-soo asks Lingit to wait while he retrieves something. He climbs onto the vehicle to access his supplies. He is relieved to find his guitar is in good condition. He calls out to Lingit, who looks back with confusion. He tells her that this is what he likes. Young-soo sits atop the truck while Lingit watches from the lam. He plucks a single string, letting the note ring out. A sudden mechanical sound interrupts the quiet moment.
Lingit looks up in surprise as someone calls her name. She focuses on the direction of the frantic shouting.
A small robot zooms toward them, yelling an urgent warning. The robot appears distressed as it continues its frantic cries. The machine reaches the pair with a startling exclamation. Young-soo notes that he would later learn the truth. Lingit asks the robot Hee-ji what has happened to Ingress. The robot repeats its warning about the emergency. Young-soo discovers that a man named Ingress is in grave danger. The robot continues to shout its alarm without stopping. Young-soo realizes that a serious crisis is unfolding. Lingit repeats the name of her comrade in shock. They immediately drop everything and begin to run. The group races through the facility toward a closed door. Lingit shouts for Ingress while frantically using the terminal. Young-soo wonders if the door mechanism has been damaged.
He reflects that the situation here is far from stable.
Lingit shouts a command for the door to open. She desperately tries to pull the heavy red door open. Young-soo notices that the doorframe is severely bent. He wonders if a major impact caused the structural damage. Lingit strains her muscles, attempting to force the entrance open. She calls out a specific command to the robot. The robot Hee-ji observes the state of the equipment inside. Young-soo tells Lingit to step aside so he can intervene. His mechanical gauntlet charges with energy for a powerful strike. He delivers a crushing blow that shatters the door. The astronaut forces the damaged metal aside with his strength. They find a red-skinned man collapsed on the floor. Lingit gasps in horror at the sight of her comrade. The man named Ingress struggles to breathe in agony. Discarded medical canisters lie in a pool of red fluid. Lingit kneels by her fallen friend to check his condition.
She calls out urgently to the robot for help.
Hee-ji opens its rear compartment to reveal fresh medical supplies. The robot prepares to dispense the necessary medicine. A hand opens a medical canister. Lingit injects the medicine into Ingress. The blue fluid enters his system. Ingress' red skin begins turning grey. The medicine successfully stabilizes Ingress' condition. Language checks if he is all right, and Ingress confirms he has recovered. Young-soo observes the urgent medical procedure. Lingit helps her recovering comrade as they exchange quiet words. She helps him stand while the robot botches. Ingress calls out the astroman's name.
Hee-ji waves to get Young-soo's attention.
The small robot looks up expectantly. Young-soo follows Hee-ji across the room. Hee-ji activates a bright display screen. The robot begins explaining local terminology. Young-soo acknowledges the helpful machine. Young-soo offers a polite greeting to Hee-ji. Hee-ji returns the greeting to Dong-im-soo. The robot points to a new image. A various creature appears on the screen. Hee-ji identifies the planet as Boomi. Young-soo repeats the name of the planet. Hee-ji confirms the astronaut is direct. Hee-ji identifies the sun while Young-soo repeats the planet's name. The robot focuses on the sun. Young-soo names the sun and the robot confirms. Young-soo realizes the meanings of correct and incorrect while identifying the sun as Panin. Hee-ji displays a meteor on the screen. A grim illustration represents death. Young-soo gathers that Rockbot means meteor and Maut signifies death. Footsteps echo as the group gathers. Young-soo turns back toward his house. Ingress and Lingit stand together before him. Ingress delivers a grave warning about their world. Ingress introduces himself while Young-soo states his name. As a rumbling starts, Young-soo asks what is happening, and Ingress explains a meteor fell, helping the astronaut understand their conversation. A massive explosion rocks the distance. The facility trembles under the shockwave.
Ingress clarifies that the meteor has reached Booming.
Ingress explains that death comes to Boomi in 5 years. Young-soo repeats the time frame in confusion. Hee-ji shows the planet orbiting the sun.
The robot demonstrates the concept of time.
Young-soo deduces that Bara means a year. Ingress indicates 5 fingers, confirming the 5-year countdown to death. Ingress explains that everything on the planet will perish in 5 years. Young-soo reacts with absolute shock. Young-soo ponders the tragic fate of the people and his own mission. A notification announces the final thawing procedure for another crew member. Mechanical hands begin playing the guitar. A yellow prompt asks the black-haired man to state his name, rank, position, and mission. The system warns that a body disassembly procedure will begin if his data is inconsistent. The small robot Hee-ji asks if he needs any other possessions to help with his memory. The man stares forward, questioning who he used to be in the past. While holding his guitar, he wonders why he has ended up in this place. He reflects on how hazy his memories have become lately. He recalls specific musical chords, F major, G minor, and C followed by a C7 chord. He identifies a specific melody as the primary thing he can still remember.
He recalls a memory of himself in a tan military uniform sitting and playing his acoustic guitar.
He remembers a darker-skinned man in the same tan uniform shouting at him while he played.
Another memory shows him wearing a black tracksuit while continuing to practice with his guitar.
He recalls playing music for a girl with pigtails and pink headbands. He remembers a stage performance in front of a massive crowd while playing a red electric guitar. He notes that he was always playing the guitar regardless of his situation.
He identifies himself as Major Dong Young-soo, Maintenance Section Chief 1 of the Atalante, tasked with the Arcadia mission and crew relocation.
Hee-ji acknowledges his identity and asks for his self-designated codename.
The man stares ahead and clearly states his codename is Rockstar. Now, in his white spacesuit helmet, Rockstar prepares for his duties. He reaffirms his mission is to maintain the Atalante in optimal condition and protect the crew members.
He reflects that he is the only safe crew member and wonders what happened to the ship.
Ingris and Lingit look on as the name of the planet, Bumi, is mentioned. Young-soo remains determined, believing that his mission hasn't failed yet. Ingris delivers the grave warning that planet Bumi will be destroyed in 5 years. Young-soo processes the shocking news with a serious expression. Kneeling on the floor with Hee-ji, Young-soo states that he needs to explain a certain method. He holds several books and wonders where to begin with the periodic table and English words.
Hee-ji reads a name from a notebook and says Dong Young-soo.
The astronaut looks at the robot with a confused question mark over his head. Hee-ji looks up and asks if this is human rating.
A textbook page shows a red apple next to the letter A.
Young-soo begins the lesson by saying A for apple. He continues with the alphabet, showing B for bread and C for cat. Ingris and Lingit watch as the lesson progresses to the letters D and E. A page shows a character eating a sandwich with the phrase, I eat food. Young-soo points to the book and recites the words for eat and food.
He points to himself to demonstrate the meaning of the word I.
He mimics the act of chewing to explain the word eat. Young-soo holds an illustration of a sandwich to represent the word food. The astronaut looks at the robot and says he understands the situation. A page from a basic English dictionary displays various animal and object definitions.
Hee-ji struggles to pronounce the word dictionary while looking at the book.
The robot flips through the pages of the blue book at incredible speed. Young-soo watches in shock as the machine processes the entire book instantly. The English textbook slams shut on the floor after being fully scanned. Hee-ji announces that human grammar structure is understood and asks what Young-soo wants. Young-soo claims he knows how to destroy the meteor, but the robot tells him it is impossible and to go back.
The astronaut explains that he cannot go back because his spacecraft was destroyed.
Hee-ji notes that if they find the spacecraft's remains, they might be able to stop the meteor. Ingris speaks to the robot in his native language. Hee-ji translates for Young-soo, explaining that the others want him to describe his method. Young-soo holds up a science manual. He opens the green book to the chemistry chapter. The page displays the periodic table. The binder rings click lauge. Young-soo points to the manual's pages while identifying helium, lithium, and beryllium. He notes the entries for boron and carbon. He reviews the properties of hydrogen, noting it requires 2 atoms. He identifies oxygen and notes it requires 1 atom.
Young-soo explains that 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen atoms form water, which Hee-ji calls Kai, while noting that their civilizations arrange elements identically.
Young-soo asks if the robot understands the following information. Hee-ji stares at the page and sounds out the word Appleson. As a diagram appears, Young-soo reflects that humanity made a discovery. Hee-ji prepares to listen to the explanation. The robot is confused by the mention of dark matter. Young-soo describes Appleton as a substance that only reacts to gravity and cannot be observed with light.
Hee-ji is shocked that humanity identified dark matter, noting it is beyond their own science.
Young-soo states that the ability to use the substance is more important than understanding the theory. In a memory, an instructor asks if any crew members know about Appleton particles. 2 crew members in yellow shirts look on with confusion. The man in the blue shirt decides to briefly explain the classified subject. He asks the group if they understand that atoms consist of a nucleus and electrons. An element exists where positrons reside where electrons usually should be. Atomic model of the Appleton element. Dark matter is defined as an element composed of a dark nucleus and positrons. He identifies Appleton as the only discovered dark matter. The man in the blue polo gestures toward the Atalante's engine, which runs on Appleton. He explains that the crew is looking at a real-size wall. He asks for the member at the furthest left of the maintenance department. Young-soo raises his hand and identifies himself as Maintenance Section Chief 1. The instructor tells them to start from his section and warns of the steep path. He tells them to remember the symbol located next to the entrance. He demonstrates that hitting the logo reveals a secret compartment. He instructs them to take the manual and follow its steps. A crew member asks what specific mission is written in that manual. The instructor reveals that it contains the self-destruct sequence.
The black-haired man asks why such a sequence would even exist.
The instructor explains that dark matter is essentially a powerful antimatter bomb. A man in a tan suit notes that planet Arcadia is similar to Earth and may have life.
Similar development processes occurred on both cans.
Comparison of human and alien evolution.
He explains that if the alien civilization is deemed a threat to humanity, they must act.
Irreparable damage from essential explosion.
Young-Soo acknowledges that this was one of his missions.
Hee-ji identifies the engine as an antimatter bomb while Ingress calls out to the astronaut. Ingress stands quietly in contemplation.
The blue-skinned man speaks a phrase including the astronaut's name and the word Mautamara.
Young-Soo translates the word Maut as death and questions the meaning of the suffix. He deduces that the phrase means to come.
Ingress asks the robot what its trust will be. Young-Soo delivers a firm, final refusal. Young-Soo firmly decides to make a trice. The astronaut begins to state his full identity. He declares his intent to find the engine. Ingress asks why he shared such critical information with them. Young-Soo explains that transparency is necessary to build trust. He expresses his desire to utilize human car.
He reveals his ultimate goal is saving Boomy.
Young-Soo offers a handshake as a gesture of partnership. Lingit remains silent, processing his sudden proposal.
Languit accepts his hand, sealing their new pact. She looks at him with newfound resolve.
Young-Soo meets her gaze with steady determination. Ingress joins the handshake, confirming their alliance.
Even advanced robots need help with Earth's spicy vocabulary. Young-Soo explains the word as an emotional exclamation.
The robot pauses to process the new data.
Hee-ji repeats the explanation and agrees to proceed.
Young-Soo confirms his readiness to start the mission.
They unite their hands to begin their work. An instructor explains the vast time dilation involved.
She warns of potential dire outcomes on Earth.
She describes the possible loss of human advancement. Young-Soo listens to the plans for their arrival. The students are told to prioritize Earth contact. She introduces the manual for deep space messaging.
Young-Soo records his progress 10 days after landing.
He describes his current living situation in the Boker. He reports on the status of his suit modifications. He demonstrates how the suit can be adjusted.
Ingress assists him in assembling the heavy deer.
Hee-ji lists the specific suit parts requiring repair.
Young-Soo questions the necessity of the breathing equipment. Hee-ji suggests a respirator to facilitate weapon needs. Young-Soo agrees and asks Ingress about the feasibility.
Ingress confirms they can perform the requested modifications.
Hee-ji asks about the helmet's internal communication systems.
Hee-ji proposes stripping away unneeded communication components.
The robot inquires about the suit's cooling systems.
Young-Soo confirms the fact while suffering a headache.
Hee-ji realizes there is a pressure mismatch issue.
Young-Soo explains the atmospheric pressure difference is double.
Hee-ji notes the difficulty of immediate physical adaptation.
Young-Soo directs Ingress's attention to an oxygen tank. They identify a filter connected to the oxygen system. They plan to salvage parts for a makeshift respirator. He confirms the decision to use a temporary breathing aid. Young-Soo notes that most suit work finishes to. Young-Soo begins a rigorous training regimen to strengthen himself. He aims to counteract the muscle loss from space.
He expresses concern regarding his nutritional needs during training. Young-Soo laments his repetitive mushroom-based diet.
He follows advice to prioritize safety over taste. He reluctantly consumes another flavorless mushroom meal.
Scarcity forces all Boomians to eat the same.
Nutrition concerns drive him to seek new food. Combat training becomes a necessary daily routine. Hee-ji identifies the Garita as the primary threat.
Young-Soo recalls his first encounter with the beasts.
The robot delivers the somber news of defeat. Readiness to fight is his only option now. He seeks the most efficient killing methods.
Hee-ji explains the necessity of targeting vital organs.
The robot suggests disabling the creature's brain. Targeting internal organs will cause fatal blood loss. He notes their biological similarities to Earth's vertebrates.
Hee-ji confirms the monsters belong to that classification.
He asks for instructions on using their arsenal. Hee-ji presents the Naga as their primary weapon. The robot defines the Naga as a railgun. Young-Soo tests the weight of the massive firearm. Close quarters combat is unavoidable against chargers. Languit steps forward to lead his melee training.
She prepares for exertion with a specialized respirator.
Physical strain causes her body temperature to spike.
Distance firing versus melee combat poses a challenge.
Hee-ji showcases the bladed Terra Naga variant. Languit demonstrates effective blocking against high attacks. She models the correct defensive posture for strikes.
Hee-ji details exploiting the enemy's own strength.
Young-Soo practices transitioning between different blocking stances.
Languit commands him to master the upper walk.
He mirrors her stance with intense focus.
A heavy training strike creates violent sparks. Exhaust vents suddenly hiss during his practice.
The robot explains the weapon's realistic feedback system. He inquires about testing his full physical strength. Languit encourages him to use his maximum force.
Hee-ji pushes him to break the training gear.
Young-Soo attacks with a burst of raw power. The robot demands he continues until failure. The training session reaches a climactic peak.
Mutual respect grows through their intense combat.
Exhaustion sets in as he logs his progress. He turns to music for a space broadcast.
The Voyager manual serves as his inspiration.
He reviews the historical contents of Earth's message.
Rock music will be his contribution to space.
He performs a classic ballad on his guitar. Languid listens quietly to his strange human songs. He hums through the parts he cannot recall. Young-soo finishes his song, realizing he must improvise the remaining lyrics.
Languid enters the room, interrupting the astronaut's musical lament.
She informs him the suit is ready, and he acknowledges the update.
The two allies walk together toward the maintenance area.
Young-soo checks his portable device as they proceed down the hall. Ingress greets the astronaut upon his arrival at the workset.
The blue-skinned man presents the completed, modified armored suit. Young-soo initializes the suit's operating system, watching the progress bar.
He confirms that the engine is running properly. The astronaut steps into the massive mechanical frame.
The suit releases pressurized steam.
Ingress performs final adjustments on the suit's back.
External plating locks into place around her.
Young-soo tests the success of the new modifications.
Ingress hands him the helmet while he notes breathing as the final test.
The astronaut seals the helmet, activating the internal atmosphere.
He takes his first internal breath. He exhales through the helmet's respirator.
The armored astronaut kneels in red flora.
Targeting reticle locks onto approaching beasts.
Young-soo identifies multiple monsters confirmed in the distance. He prepares to fire on a count of 3. Ingress starts the countdown amidst the alien flowers. A mechanical finger pulls the trigger.
Young-soo delivers the final command to open fire.
The group gathers as Ingress begins explaining mission. He outlines locations for tracking spaceship cross-site positions.
He designates the radar base as the first target.
Ingress explains the coastal base tracks objects from the sky and holds vital records. He offers more information regarding their secondary objectives. He identifies a satellite communication base located on a mountain. They hope to find records of the Atalante tracked by satellites.
Ingress prioritizes the coastal base to find what they seek.
Young-soo proposes searching for visible ship debris along the way. The astronaut and Ingress agree on the detail. He explains that useful items can be found in the debris.
Languid asks if he means items from Earth.
He lists weapons, food, and seeds as their primary goals.
The blue-skinned woman considers the potential value of seeds.
Languid excitedly asks about cot seeds while Young-soo wishes for coffee.
PG checks if the luggage and Young-soo's blood are moated.
Young-soo confirms the blood is refrigerated and loaded in a car.
Hee-ji explains the necessity since no other Earthlings can provide bleg. The robot warns them to return safely without getting hurt.
Languid, Ingress, and Young-soo share a final moment of resolve.
The armored astronaut readies himself. The reticle focuses on wreckage.
Young-soo prepares to fire on Bree.
He aims his railgun from the transport wharf.
Ingress locks onto his target.
The astronaut shouts the final bout.
He fires the massive Naga railgun.
A focused laser beam streaks forward.
The monster is struck by energy.
Purple blood erupts from the beasts.
The alien creature roars in agony.
More monsters charge the transport vehicle.
Young-soo leaps down to engage him.
The beasts close in with ferocity.
He prepares for a melee encounter.
The creatures sprint across the field. The blue-skinned man notes the enemy is close and asks when they should shoot.
Ingress commands Lingit to attack Hare.
Languid fires a powerful energy beam.
The blast pierces through multiple amis.
The beasts screech as they haul.
Languid effortlessly slashes through a monster.
She recalls that attacks from above can be countered by blocking upward. Another creature leaps toward the warrior. Languid exhales steam after her exertion.
She performs a powerful vertical strike.
Her blade slices the monster apart.
The warrior lands firmly on the ground.
Languid closes in on another target.
She delivers a final lethal blow.
Purple blood splatters onto alien flowers. She breathes through her specialized respirator.
Young-soo remains silent in his R.
The armored astronaut complains that the kill was supposed to be his.
Languid shrugs off his competitive remark.
Ingress reminds Languid they agreed Young-soo would handle one for close combat training.
The blue-skinned woman offers a short apology. Ingress orders Dong Young-soo to search for the Atalante alone while he and Languid follow later. Young-soo understands and agrees to go out. Young-soo wonders if Languid is getting scolded before turning his attention to the mission.
He identifies a potential storage compartment.
The astronaut enters the wreckage alone. He identifies the area as equipment and personal belongings storage.
He notes the black box should be located near the airlock. Overturned crates litter the ruined interior.
He spots a voice recording device.
Young-soo punches through the glass covered.
He reaches in to grab it.
He secures a portable recording box. He examines the find in silence. A recorded voice states that the protocol is clear and crew survival is the top priority. Dean frantically shouts that Section Chief Dong Young-soo won't survive after landing without this equipment.
He recognizes Dean's voice and realizes a conversation with Aleph was recorded.
Young-soo wonders if Dean helped him escape and come to this place.
The recording repeats that the protocol is clear.
An automated notification commands a return to the escape pod.
A final message declares that the conversation is over. The man in the tan shirt pulls a strap as machinery engages. Young-soo sits within the ruins, securing a storage box.
He wonders how much Dean managed to salvage from the seed bank.
He considers if his guitar was saved through his friend's efforts.
The astronaut decides to search the containers that were left open. From below the wreckage, Languid calls out to offer her assistance. He declines the help and prepares to throw items down her.
Crates are tossed out of the wreckage toward the ground. Languid inspects the fallen gear and asks if the items are functional.
He confirms they found the black box and several weapons.
Young-soo carries a crate past a specialized electromagnetic weapon case.
He discovers a personal item that triggers memories of the past.
He holds a journal belonging to his friend, Dean Daniels. He tells the warrior to rest while he examines their findings.
The transport vehicle sits parked among a field of vibrant red flora. A handwritten entry describes Young-soo bringing his guitar to training. The astronaut looks toward the horizon during a quiet moment. A door opens to reveal Young-soo in his former military uniform. A voice calls out to identify him by his rank. The young lieutenant turns to address those who have entered. He stands at attention and delivers a formal salute.
A high-ranking officer and a man in glasses enter the room.
The scene returns to the vehicle resting in the alien meadow.
He continues reading the journal's description of his younger self.
Languid asks what he is reading, and he identifies the journal.
She asks for details, so he reads Dean's entry about being selected. Narration within the book recounts Dean meeting a high-ranking Young-soo on a plane.
Young-soo reads a passage where Dean complains about his cold demeanor. A heavy silence falls over the two as the sun sets. Languid finds the entry irritating and asks to see the other items.
The memory shifts back to the lieutenant standing in the office.
The older officer returns the salute and orders him to be at ease.
He notes that it has been a long time since they last met.
Alex Chung introduces himself and mentions his transfer to headquarters. The gray-haired man identifies himself as Personnel Staff Officer Connor Callahan. Young-soo introduces himself as a logistics officer for the Space Brigade.
Callahan decides they should begin the proceedings immediately.
The three men sit down to begin the formal interview.
The officer asks about his initial reasons for enlisting in the military.
Callahan points to a document and asks for verification of the contents. Young-soo confirms that the written statement is his own.
Callahan notes his desire to explore a new world as his motivation.
The lieutenant affirms that the statement is correct.
The officer prepares to review more of the candidate's files.
Callahan requests that the soldier be completely honest during the session.
Alex Chung explains that they are also evaluating his mental state. He encourages Young-soo to speak freely about his personal thoughts.
Young-soo agrees to clarify his motivations for the exploration mission.
Young-soo explains that he enlisted for tuition and citizenship.
He adds that he truly wanted to explore. He believes his combat experience is helpful for the mission. Callahan asks if his family's tragic death caused financial hardship.
Young-soo confirms that the assessment of his past is correct.
Callahan questions how the man felt during those times.
Young-soo describes the overwhelming poverty he faced after the attacks.
Callahan asks if he associated with delinquents for money.
Young-soo questions how the officer obtained such private information.
He waits for an answer from the stoic interviewers. Callahan explains they interviewed everyone in the candidate's life.
Young-soo admits to selling electronics but denies using weapons.
He notes he stopped those activities after joining a family.
Callahan acknowledges the deceased status of Maria Martinez.
He pivots to discuss Young-soo's combat deployment in Kazakhstan.
Alex Chung praises Young-soo for handling a surprise attack.
Callahan requests a first-hand account of his combat experience. Young-soo explains the mission was to recover a valuable meteorite.
He recounts luring attackers toward support forces while driving.
Callahan notes that Alex's version of the story was better.
He observes that Young-soo seems to thrive during hardships.
The officer continues reviewing the candidate's extensive file. Young-soo cites major events as his source of courage.
Callahan asks if the mission is just trauma escapism.
Young-soo processes the blunt accusation in silence.
Callahan labels the candidate a lucky escapist from Earth.
He notes the pattern of death leading to enlistment. He suggests the man is simply escaping a doomed world. Young-soo admits there were moments he wanted to quit.
Callahan offers breakdown or endurance as the only options.
Young-soo acknowledges that those are his only choices. He believes that persistence eventually leads to improvement.
Callahan notes Camila Martinez is his listed pension recipient.
The officer studies the final page of the file.
He slides the official personnel document across the table. Young-soo reads the top secret mission and deployment classification.
The candidate asks if he has passed the assessment.
Alex explains that intrusive questions reveal psychological strengths.
The top secret document reveals the ship named Atalante.
Alex identifies the project as the Arcadia mission.
Young-soo is instructed to review the mission details.
Callahan assigns him the position of maintenance section chief. Alex mentions he will be promoted to major soon.
Callahan orders him to focus entirely on his training.
Young-soo expresses surprise at being selected over experienced astronauts.
Alex explains they prioritized survival skills in unfamiliar environments.
Callahan gathers the folders as the meeting concludes. He orders Young-soo to follow a guide to Tansport.
Alex Chung wishes the man success on his mission.
Alex asks about his personal habits as they leave.
Young-soo discusses his drinking and smoking habits. Personnel Officer Callahan offers a smoking break.
Young-soo salutes as the interviewers depart.
He is formally addressed by his rank.
2 guards offer to guide the lieutenant. Heavy boots stomp through the facility.
Young-soo walks through the snow toward height.
The armed guard observes the young soldier. A pack of cigarettes is presented.
Young-soo politely declines the offered cigarette.
The guard shares the personnel officer's message.
He relays a grim warning about smoking. Young-soo studies the cigarette pack's warning. A lighter's flame flickers in the cold.
He exhales smoke into the snowy air. He notes the unseasonable cold for July. Security escorts Young-soo toward his transport.
The aircraft's boarding stairs are lowered.
Young-soo boards the plane for his Western.
He looks toward his new future.
A guitar case occupies a passenger seat.
A voice welcomes the musician aboard.
Young-soo questions the unexpected greeting.
Dean Daniels introduces himself as the deputy.
Young-soo realizes Dean is now his subordinate.
He ponders how to respond to Dean.
The crew gathers for a formal briefing.
Dean reacts with shock at seeing Young-soo.
Young-soo appears as the new section chief.
His promotion to major is visually highlighted.
Dean recognizes his superior's rapid promotion.
Snow falls on a patch of grass.
A giraffe grazes in the snowy silence. Wildlife wanders amidst a scene of death. Desolation grips the snowy urban landscape.
The animal continues grazing in the ruin. Multiple rockets await launch on the coast. Young-soo carries his belongings through all.
He drops his cargo onto the table. Dean formally acknowledges his section chief.
Young-soo assumes command of his maintenance section.
He orders the soldiers to sit down. He instructs those seated to raise hands. He explains the protocol for the count.
The soldiers begin their numerical roll call.
Dean identifies himself and begins the count.
Dean remembers their meeting on the plane.
Young-soo tasks Dean with distributing the folders.
Dean complies and hands out the documents.
The numerical count reaches its final solter.
Dean notes that the total crew count is 32, and Young-soo thanks him for the help.
Young-soo briefs the group on the Arcadia mission and the upcoming training schedule.
He explains the training lasts a year and warns that failures or quitters will be dismissed. Young-soo notes that this joint operation classifies all shared information as top secret.
He warns that the CIA will investigate if any information is leaked.
Dean reacts to the strict briefing.
Young-soo reminds them that the mission exists because Earth collapsed from climate crisis. He announces a physical examination for the next morning.
Candidates are instructed to fast after 9 o'clock for their endoscopy.
Young-soo states that the main training begins the day after tomorrow.
Dean explains that the first phase is physical conditioning.
The goal is developing a body capable of hibernation.
A manual details essential resistance training movements.
Training focuses on increasing muscle mass.
An illustration demonstrates proper squatting technique.
Objectives include becoming healthy yet overweight. Young-soo encourages Dean to complete one more repetition.
Young-soo finishes and suggests moving to class.
Dean insists there is one set left. Young-soo questions if they already finished 10.
Dean clarifies that the section chief still has one set left. Dean refuses to let him skip legs.
Young-soo shifts the focus toward understanding the Adelante. Theory classes are scheduled to be held first.
Young-soo struggles through a post-class exam.
Young-soo stares intensely at the exam paper.
Dean focuses on his exam paper.
Young-soo whispers to ask for the answer.
Young-soo signals an answer with its hand. Young-soo's signal leaves Dean feeling confused. The instructor stands behind the cheating candidate. Young-soo transitions the briefing to practical training. Practical training occurs on a full-scale model.
Crew members receive scientific missions based on hibernation cycles.
Trainings prepare them for planet arrival.
The crew reviews their mission materials.
The group practices terraforming by Broenfrops.
Dean excitedly shows off a bumper crop. Young-soo complains about the labor of harvesting.
Young-soo asks about coffee, and Dean jokes about Starbucks. Young-soo explains the purpose of the spacesuits.
He notes standard shielding and temperature maintenance.
The suit features an advanced exoskeleton system. Young-soo explains the power suit technology. Combat training prepares them for alien life. Young-soo shares a pot with Dean. Young-soo asks if mortars could skip training. Dean asks about loading explosives aboard.
Callahan asks for the name of the trainee who mentioned mortars, and the candidate identifies himself as Major Dong Young-soo.
Callahan deducts points for the candidate's call that.
The gray-haired instructor suggests that even a famous space dog would have better cosmic intuition than the candidate.
Young-soo asks for clarification regarding the specific name mentioned by the instructor. Dean identifies the Soviet canine that once traveled into space while his fellow trainees sighs. Dean expresses genuine concern regarding the section chief's current training scores. Dean offers to conduct extra study sessions with Young-soo after their daily training.
Young-soo announces the beginning of the highly anticipated hibernation training phase.
Candidates are required to sign separate consent forms due to the high-risk nature of the training. Young-soo explains that the training cycle repeats continuously while snapping his fingers to emphasize the point.
A specialized maintenance robot is introduced to follow and monitor the crew members.
The yellow and gray robotic assistant is officially designated as Aleph version 1.
Young-soo notes that the AI will provide essential assistance for missions inside and outside the spacecraft.
Young-soo concludes his announcements and begins distributing mission-restricted smartphones to the candidates. Ryan Curtis approaches the desk to receive his personal communication device.
Dean offers to verify the names on the distribution list to help the section chief. A candidate introduced as Chase Bennington steps forward to identify himself.
Young-soo and Dean officially welcome the Navy personnel into their specific section.
The blonde-haired Jocelyn Yeats asks the section chief for directions to the cafeteria.
Aleph offers to lead the way while Young-soo instructs the trainee to follow the robot. Jocelyn follows the guide out of the classroom to locate the facility's dining area.
Dean apologizes for his failure to recognize his superior officer during their initial meeting.
Young-soo dismisses the concern and offers a reassuring word to his subordinate. A hand is extended to finalize their newfound professional alliance.
Dean vows to provide unwavering support to his section chief until the mission's conclusion.
Young-soo accepts the sincere commitment with a calm and appreciative smile.
The two men finalize their agreement with a firm handshake and a promise to succeed. A robotic hand turns the pages of an old diary recounting early training memories.
A lone figure in a white spacesuit reflects on a promise kept under a foreign sky.
A voice questions why the young blue-skinned woman is sleeping in such an exposed location.
Ingress instructs the woman to seek warmth inside their parked transport vehicle.
The blue-skinned woman awakens slowly and acknowledges the instruction to move inside.
Ingress asks about any unusual activity while Young-soo reports that the area remains quiet. Ingress prepares to rest while Young-soo agrees to take a turn at resting as well.
Lenggit bids Young-soo a peaceful night's rest from inside the transport rover. Dean's final reflections highlight the gratitude he felt for his friendship with the man he called Rockstar.
Young-soo sits in somber silence while reflecting on his deceased friend's final rest.
Young-soo reaches out with a determined gaze amidst a backdrop of flickering embers.
A small robotic assistant initiates a crew-wide communication through a telephone.
The robot announces the start of a new morning and checks the status of the crew. Lenggit reports that she is already awake after completing her night watch duty. The girl offers to check if the rest of the crew members have awakened yet.
The robot inquires about the identity of the person who just spoke into the comms.
Ingress identifies himself as he stands by the open ramp of the transport vehicle.
The robot observes that only one person has yet to wake up for the day.
Young-soo is startled into consciousness by the robot's aggressive morning wake-up call. Ingress is visibly shaken by the sudden and loud disturbance while Young-soo sits up.
The robot transitions immediately into a mandatory morning quiz for the entire team.
Language successfully translates a complex phrase regarding team discussion protocols into English.
The robotic instructor confirms the accuracy of the girl's translation. Lenggit celebrates her correct answer with a quiet and satisfied giggle.
Ingress attempts to translate a second phrase but is corrected by the robot with the proper term.
Aleph version 1 initiates the morning briefing by calling for Dong Young-soo to begin his turn.
Young-soo awakens in a daze as the robot presents a complex scientific translation regarding serotonin regulators.
Still sitting on his cot, Young-soo is urged by the robot to complete the difficult linguistic exercise. The robot emphasizes the importance of mastering human biological data to facilitate better mission communication. Young-soo attempts to translate the medical jargon into the local language but struggles with the specific terms.
Finding the linguistic puzzle too taxing for the early morning, Young-soo formally admits his defeat.
Young-soo offers a blunt alternative translation that simply states he does not work.
The robotic instructor congratulates him, confirming that his answer accurately translates to being a fool. Honesty is the best policy, even when it hurts.
Ingress asks for permission to return to sleep now that the morning quiz has concluded.
A red and white striped communication balloon floats against a clear blue morning sky.
The team begins to retract the balloon as they prepare to leave their current camp.
Lenggit and Young-soo work together in a field of red flora to maintain their specialized equipment. While eating a meal, Young-soo asks Ingress for an estimate on when they will reach their destination.
Lenggit pauses her maintenance work to listen to the men's conversation about their travel schedule.
Lenggit finds Young-soo's earlier translation mishap hilarious and bursts into a fit of laughter while he remains lost in thought.
Ingress estimates that the group should reach their destination by sunset later that day. Young-soo reflects silently on the robot's job regarding his intelligence while continuing to eat his meal. Ingress expresses genuine concern for the section chief's mental state while Lenggit continues to laugh hysterically.
A metal stake is driven into the red earth to secure the team's transport and gear.
Young-soo prepares to pack the communication balloon and move out immediately to stay on schedule.
Ingress gives the final command for the crew to depart and head toward their destination.
Ingress maintains a focused and serious expression as he prepares to pilot the transport vehicle.
The heavy-duty transport vehicle speeds across the alien landscape, leaving red petals in its wake.
Lenggit watches the scenery pass by from inside the vehicle with a curious and attentive gaze.
The vehicle continues its journey across the vast and colorful terrain under the morning sun.
Inside the cramped transport, Lenggit sits pensively while Young-soo checks on their mission gear.
Young-soo removes a large, sophisticated rifle from its storage rack to perform a routine inspection.
Ingress inquires about the current operational status and readiness of the section's defensive weapons. Young-soo notes that while the weapons appear functional, they need batteries to verify their internal systems. Ingress asks for a detailed explanation of the specific weapon types they have on board. Young-soo describes their inventory, highlighting rapid-fire railguns and heavy-duty plasma cutters for metalwork. Ingress is impressed by the utility of a large plasma cutter for their upcoming mission objectives.
Young-soo and Ingress share a lighthearted moment as they discuss the potential uses for their tools.
Ingress asks if Young-soo is already planning to modify their equipment for unofficial purposes again.
Young-soo recalls the recommendation to bring hobby items and notes his own choice was a guitar.
He discovers a comic book among the crates and wonders which crew member brought it along.
Young-soo asks Lenggit if she was the one who found and examined the comic book.
Lenggit confirms she looked at it earlier but was unable to decipher the unfamiliar script. The comic book page features a high school drama where characters argue and exchange insults.
Young-soo explains to Lenggit that the text is Japanese, a regional language from Earth.
He elaborates that Earth was home to many distinct languages and cultures before the crisis. The comic depicts students happily sharing traditional snacks, creating a window into a bygone era.
Confused by the concepts shown in the book, Lenggit asks for a definition of school. Young-soo explains that a school is a communal place where children gather together to learn. He asks Lenggit if the educational system on Bumi is fundamentally different from what he described.
Lenggit reveals that she spent her entire life in a bunker, learning only from Ingress and Hiji.
Seeing the depictions of school life in the book makes Lenggit long for such an experience.
Young-soo listens with a sympathetic expression as Lenggit shares her feelings of social isolation.
He feels a sense of sadness, realizing how much normal childhood experiences were lost to her.
Young-soo wonders what kind of life Lenggit would have led if she had grown up on Earth. Young-soo narrates that Lenggit would have been an exceptional student under her mentors. He imagines her as a studious girl who prioritized her education over romance.
He admits that she could have easily turned down a much darker path.
He envisions a delinquent version of her aggressively extorting others for food. The rough, imaginary version of the girl stands defiantly near a large tire. Young-soo finds both of these hypothetical versions of the girl equally peculiar. Lenggit curiously asks Young-soo if he found his own time at school enjoyable. Young-soo confirms he attended school, though his expression remains heavy and serious. A violent memory of a man screaming in a dark alleyway flashes by. He recalls his younger self with a battered and bloodied face from a fight. He remembers the grim reality of applying pressure to a bleeding, open wound. A younger Young-soo helps a wounded Ingress during a time of intense conflict. The silver-haired Ingress grimaces as he endures the pain of his physical injuries. Young Young-soo looks on with an expression of profound weariness and sorrow. Amidst floating embers, he wipes blood from his face after a narrow escape. A girl with cat ear headphones stands silhouetted against a backdrop of raging flames. Tears well in his eyes as he witnesses the destruction of everything he knew. He stands in a rain-soaked graveyard, finding solace in the hand of a companion. He mourns at a cemetery while wearing a shirt that honors a lost friend. Rain pours down as he reflects on the heavy toll of his past experiences.
Back in the present, he provides a brief and neutral summary of his childhood.
Lenggit correctly surmises that his school days were likely more traumatic than fun. A quiet, contemplative mood falls over the group as they continue their journey. Young-soo points out a character in the comic book with a striking resemblance to her. He identifies the girl in the book as Amane, whose name has a divine meaning. Lenggit is delighted to learn that the character's name shares a meaning with hers. She asks if he would be willing to read the story aloud later on.
Young-soo decides he must study the language to properly understand the ancient texts.
Lenggit notes that the character's fondness for cats is another trait they share. She excitedly presents a small, gray, cat-shaped toy to show her companion. Young-soo takes the simple toy and admits that it is surprisingly charming.
The transport vehicle travels across a vibrant red field toward a distant structure.
The massive facility comes into clearer view as the sun begins to set. The crew observes the horizon as they finally arrive at their mission objective.
A briefing note identifies the island as a specialized low-altitude air defense base.
The imposing fortified structure stands tall above the calm waters of the coast.
Young-soo notices a significant complication regarding the path ahead of them.
A distant view reveals that the main bridge connecting the base is severed.
The trio watches from the vehicle as they reach the edge of the water.
They confirm their arrival at the island housing the Strategic Defense Facility.
Young-soo stares at the wreckage of the bridge with a focused, analytical gaze.
He expresses concern and confusion over the total destruction of the main walkway.
Ingress explains that the path is currently underwater due to the planet's tides.
He reassures the team that the road will become visible once the water recedes.
A title card announces the beginning of the 10th episode titled Paranoid Android. The men approach a large control terminal located outside the base's main entrance.
Young-soo questions the likely cause behind the bridge's catastrophic structural failure.
Ingress suggests that the damage was most likely caused by a falling meteor. An ancient interface hums with life as a surge of teal energy powers up. Ingress notes with relief that the facility's emergency power is still functional.
Ingress clarifies that the facility stores reconnaissance satellite reports.
Young-soo hopes for useful data during their search.
The facility overlooks a massive field of flora.
Ingress maintains a stoic and contemplative expression.
Lenggit contacts Hiji to confirm their successful arrival.
Hiji inquires about the status of the radar base. Hiji asks about the commander previously stationed there. Lenggit suggests searching for traces of life tomorrow.
Hiji warns the team to maintain high caution.
The vehicle drives across the vibrant alien landscape.
Young-soo confirms power status before the dawn search.
Ingress denies sensing any immediate threats nearby. Ingress notes a weak, lingering presence in the area.
He theorizes that clouds are masking pheromone traces.
Heavy raindrops begin falling onto the red earth.
Ingress urges the team to move inside immediately.
A storm breaks over the coastal military facility.
Rain hammers the metallic structures under nightfall.
Young-soo observes the heavy storm from a window. Ingress identifies their current location at the bridge. He points to the path revealed during low tide.
Young-soo asks about his earlier comment regarding Garita. Ingress describes sensing old and faint pheromone juices.
Young-soo questions if Garita are on the island.
Young-soo prepares for a possible battle during exploration.
Young-soo and Ingress watch Languet open a crate.
Languet discovers a cache of ancient combat rations.
Ingress asks if anything unusual was in the warehouse.
Languet notes the mess and more pheromone traces.
Young-soo questions how large creatures could enter doors.
Ingress reassures the team of their current safety.
Ingress reflects silently on the mission's growing complexity.
Ingress advises Young-soo on how to eat Russians.
A fire crackles within a small heating unit.
Young-soo asks if the ancient food is edible.
Languet enjoys eating something other than local mushrooms. Young-soo finds the rations better with mushroom hackers.
Ingress orders everyone to rest before the sunrise.
Rain continues to drench the dark alien world.
Languet confirms the defensive weapons are fully charged.
Young-soo checks the status of their heavy rifle.
Young-soo orders the crew to board the vehicle.
The transport speeds across the dark, wet fields.
They approach the base as the tide recedes.
The vehicle drives across the newly revealed mudflats. Young-soo worries about the bridge's structural integrity.
Ingress notes rain washes away all identifiable pheromones.
Languet spots an obstacle on the path ahead.
A pile of debris blocks the bridge's passage. Ingress orders Languet to man the up and current.
Young-soo and Ingress walk across the mudflats.
A heavy hammer smashes through solid rock. The men work together to clear debris.
Young-soo questions if the debris fell from the bridge and why it is concentrated here.
Ingress tells Dong Young-soo to look straight ahead for a moment. A shadowy creature stands silhouetted as lightning strikes.
An alert detects multiple enemies to the rear, and Young-soo asks Languet to identify them.
Languet reports dozens of small variant Garita approaching their position. The monsters approach rapidly as Languet fires from the upper turret.
Young-soo tells Ingress to cover him while he clears the remaining debris.
Young-soo smashes rocks as a monster lurks in the shadows.
He complains that his workload is becoming overwhelming and driving him crazy.
Several monsters skulk through the rainy darkness of the mudflats. A monster lunges toward Young-soo as he swings his hammer. The creature leaps through the air with its claws extended.
A precise shot from the vehicle intercepts the leaping monster midair. Ingress commands Young-soo to return to the transport immediately. Young-soo sprints back as a pack of monsters pursues him.
He leaps toward the moving vehicle as a monster follows.
Young-soo clings to the side of the vehicle while retreating.
He reports that enemy entities are still approaching from the front.
A swarm of monsters overruns the bridge path ahead of them.
Young-soo strikes a charging monster with his heavy hammer.
He spots a flickering light and asks what it is.
A bright glint emanates from the distant bridge structure.
A rhythmic SOS radio signal repeats through the static.
Young-soo asks Languet to tune the radio channel to 70 MHz.
He instructs Languet to open the side ear cover of his helmet.
Languet assists Young-soo by adjusting his communication equipment. A hand fine-tunes a radio dial through heavy static.
Static continues as the team waits for a clear signal.
Fragmented words mention personnel and the Atalante through the interference.
A white-haired girl transmits the signal again due to poor sound quality.
Young-soo confirms he can hear her and tells her to speak.
The red-eyed girl asks if they are crew members of the Elantre.
She demands their affiliation, rank, name, and codename. The girl stands defiantly atop the structure with a long rifle.
Young-soo identifies himself as Major Dong Young-soo, codename Rockstar from Maintenance Section 1.
She confirms his identity and requests instructions from crew member 67 Dong Young-soo.
A title card announces the beginning of the 11th episode, titled Strange Comrades.
Young-soo asks Aleph to provide immediate fire support for the team.
He readies himself for battle as the monsters swarm around them.
Aleph confirms and asks if the entities following the vehicle should be defined as enemies.
Young-soo gives an affirmative command to engage the hostile targets.
Aleph locks her weapon sights onto the enemy group.
Her rifle's heatsink opens as the weapon powers up.
Aleph fires a massive energy blast from her high-tech rifle.
The projectile obliterates several monsters on the road near the transport.
Young-soo praises her accuracy and gives coordinates for the Island Fortress land entrance. He asks her if she knows the specific location he is describing.
Aleph stares intensely through the rain with her glowing red eye. Aleph confirms that the current location matches the reconnaissance data. Amidst the swarm, Young-soo asks if weapon batteries can be supplied at their position.
Aleph asks Young-soo to specify the required weapon types for delivery. Young-soo smashes a monster while requesting 2 Odette models and 1 Aura.
Aleph proposes delivering the weapon batteries at the entrance passage.
Young-soo gives an immediate order to proceed with the delivery.
Languet questions the robot's allegiance, and Young-soo identifies her as the Atalante's AI.
Young-soo explains that the AI will support them at the fortress entrance.
Aleph reports her arrival and requests descriptions of the enemy entities.
Young-soo identifies the creatures as Garita, noting their vertebrate-like body structure.
Young-soo warns about the existence of both small and large variants.
Young-soo readies a heavy strike in the pouring rain.
A powerful impact echoes as the weapon hits home.
The overwhelming workload is beginning to take a toll on Young-soo.
Young-soo swings his weapon to fend off a leaping monster.
Langit calls out to Young-soo as the situation becomes critical.
A gloved hand reaches out to pull a comrade to safety.
A monster with a mounted weapon targets the group as they scramble.
Ingress commends Langit for her timely and successful rescue. Ingress warns the crew to brace for an impending sharp turn.
The vehicle lurches past debris in the storm's darkness.
Young-soo alerts Aleph that they are nearing the entrance of the facility.
A heavy weapon is aimed toward the tunnel's opening.
Aleph prepares to issue weapons to the surviving crew member.
Aleph eliminates a monster and requests Young-soo's biometric registration.
Young-soo coordinates a split, leaving Langit and Aleph to cover the retreat.
Aleph and Young-soo meet to begin the security verification process. A specialized scan confirms Young-soo's iris data for weapon access. Young-soo receives a rifle while noting Aleph's strict adherence to serial number protocols. Aleph emphasizes that following protocol is their highest priority.
Aleph's primary directive is the absolute protection of the crew's lives.
Monsters surge forward as Aleph invokes Arcadia Mission Protocol 0.
Aleph declares that all hostile entities are marked for neutralization. Aleph performs a high-altitude leap to strike a massive monster below.
A fierce determination glints in Aleph's eye during the strike.
Aleph delivers a devastating blow to the charging creature.
The monstrous horde flinches as the battle's tide turns.
Ingress observes that the enemy's offensive momentum is finally breaking.
Aleph commands Young-soo to proceed with the retreat immediately.
Aleph insists on staying behind until the current threat is neutralized.
Young-soo urges her to avoid total annihilation and rejoin them soon.
Heavy footsteps echo through the dark, rain-slicked passage.
Legit and Ingress maintain a defensive posture inside the tunnel. Ingress calls out Young-soo's name in the shadowy environment.
Young-soo emerges with the new gear, confirming Aleph's arrival is imminent.
Ingress identifies the support unit as the administrator AI of the Atalante. Young-soo explains the robot's role in ensuring survival during spacecraft missions.
Aleph stands silent, her frame covered in the remnants of battle.
The AI stands atop the carnage, having successfully fulfilled her prop call.
Aleph stands ready in the dark, monster silhouettes lingering in the background.
A monster screeches and lunges toward the white-haired AI girl.
Aleph cleaves through the creature with a single swift strike of her blade.
She looks down as purple splatters of monster blood cover her mask.
Young-soo alerts the team that something is approaching their position.
The blue-skinned man in the red coat prepares to seal the facility bore.
Young-soo calls out, asking if Aleph has successfully arrived at the entrance.
A brilliant flash of light illuminates the tunnel as the combat ends.
Aleph reports that she has successfully broken the enemy's offensive momentum.
The AI girl calmly wipes the purple remnants of battle from her white mask.
Young-soo commends her for the successful defense and her timely arrival.
Aleph looks toward the blue-skinned strangers and asks if they are Young-soo's comrades.
Young-soo introduces Langit and Ingress, identifying them as members of the Boomian race.
Aleph's red eye glows as she requests to speak if communication is possible.
Young-soo asks her what message she wishes to convey to the Boomian survivors.
Ingress watches the AI with a look of intense focus and caution.
Aleph suddenly levels her weapon at Ingress's throat, prompting Young-soo to order her to stop.
The AI ignores the order and asks about the status of the Atalante.
Young-soo reacts with shock at the AI's sudden aggressive tone.
Ingress remains perfectly still as the glowing blade rests against his neck. Young-soo explains to Ingress that Aleph is an artificial intelligence robot.
He tells the group that Aleph has a specific question she needs to ask.
Ingress maintains his composure despite the lethal weapon pointed directly at him.
Aleph turns to Young-soo and requests that he interpret her words for the Boomian. She demands to know if the Boomian species was responsible for destroying the Atalante.
Young-soo calls to Ingress, but the Boomian replies that interpretation is unnecessary.
Ingress frankly admits that his species was indeed responsible for the ship's destruction. Aleph warns Langit to remain still and avoid showing any hostility toward her.
She explains that any loss of control will lead to an immediate lethal discharge.
The AI coldly states that Ingress will suffer irreparable damage if he moves.
Young-soo desperately orders Aleph to lower her weapon and de-escalate the situation.
Ingress tells his teammates to stay calm and invites Aleph to ask her questions. Aleph questions why no attempt was made to contact the ship before attacking. Ingress clarifies they didn't order the strike, but notes it might have been other Boomians.
He confirms it, adding it might have been an autonomous satellite's decision.
Ingress looks down solemnly as he reflects on the fractured state of his world.
Aleph asks if he currently has any way to interact with other Boomian factions.
She emphasizes that an unprovoked attack on an alien vessel is a catastrophic event. Ingress explains that seeking communication with other groups now is essentially a death sentence. Young-soo looks on, realizing the political situation on the planet is incredibly dire. Ingress recalls a time when the monsters were merely considered savage wild animals. He notes that the constant monster attacks actually provided a strange benefit. A flashback shows Knight striking down a creature during a past battle. The necessity of fighting the creatures led to the creation of the Chorak. He explains that the Boomians pushed for rapid technological growth to ensure survival, A warrior raises a weapon in triumph against the sky in the distant past.
They eventually discovered that the monsters were arriving on the planet via meteors. The realization dawned that the creatures were actually invaders from the stars.
A monster scavenges near a rocky outcrop as the planet's history unfolds.
This discovery forced the shocked world to create a system for planetary cooperation. A pulsating bioorganic brain is wired into a cold clinical control chamber.
Flashbacks reveal a time when orbital defense systems easily neutralize small meteors.
The mood shifts to panic as Boomian scientists detect a planet-killing supermassive meteor.
Monitoring stations track the massive rocky invader closing in on their homeworld.
A Boomian leader addresses a sea of citizens, proposing a desperate migration mission. He delivers the heavy announcement that they must leave their dying planet behind. Tension rises among the ranks of the armored knights standing in formation.
High-ranking officials prioritize themselves for the exodus, leaving the common people behind.
Violent betrayal erupts as those left to die turn their blades on the elite.
Civil war fractures the Boomian civilization in the shadow of impending doom.
A once-proud society descends into chaos as the masses witness the collapse of order.
Loyal warriors find themselves trapped in a bloody conflict they cannot hope to win. Even those who remained faithful are cornered by the overwhelming surge of the rebellion. A skilled knight is ruthlessly struck down amidst the raging fires of revolution.
The fallen defender collapses as the executioners prepare to finish the job.
Life fades from her eyes as the cold steel of a blade looms overhead. A grieving father clings to his infant child, desperate to find a path to safety.
He holds the small life close, vowing to protect the last piece of his world.
The blue-skinned baby wails, oblivious to the tragic end of her civilization's golden age. In the present, Ingress reflects on the desperate measures he took just to stay alive.
Aleph questions Ingress on why he decided to accept the human's help. Ingress explains that the newcomer represents their best chance to destroy the meteor.
He believes that the human pilot is the only hope left for his people.
Aleph asks Young-Soo if he truly believes the Boomians are being honest.
Young-Soo confirms his trust is based on their behavior and intentions.
Aleph argues that such qualitative data is an unreliable basis for security.
Young-Soo points out that total isolation would have led to a dead end.
He asks her to consider the impossibility of succeeding without any allies.
He warns of the certain doom awaiting those who refuse to cooperate.
Young-Soo emphasizes that great tasks require trust before they can even begin.
The AI processes his logic and finally accepts his decision to move forward.
Ingress clarifies that the AI's hostility was merely a mandated security verification procedure.
Aleph stands down, formally reclassifying the Boomian survivors as non-hostile entities.
A palpable sense of relief washes over Ingress as the lethal threat is neutralized.
Aleph shifts focus back to their objective, asking Young-Soo to clarify their current mission.
Young-Soo explains his plan to use the base's satellites to locate their crashed ship.
Aleph warns that rising tides will soon draw more monsters toward their position. Young-Soo acknowledges the danger and orders the team to move out immediately.
Ingress and Languet ready their heavy energy weapons as they prepare to breach the facility. The strange comrades stand united, ready to fight their way through the dark corridors.
Ingress directs the group toward the command center located deep within the central tower.
Young-Soo's heightened senses detect the lingering scent of predators nearby.
A small, multi-legged monster lurks in the shadows, waiting for its chance to strike.
Young-Soo reacts instantly, firing a precise shot that eliminates the crouching creature. He notes the creature's unusual size, wondering if they are facing a subspecies.
He theorizes that these monsters were forced out of their eggs prematurely.
Languet examines a chart showing the rapid and terrifying evolution of the species.
She questions where this specific creature fits into the monstrous life cycle. Young-Soo confirms they are dealing with a less evolved yet still dangerous variant.
He ponders a tactical mystery regarding how the monsters coordinated their attack.
Languet theorizes that the creatures use electrical communication, while Young-Soo asks for clarification on radios.
Languet explains that bioelectricity is a more likely communication method than pheromones during the rain.
Young-Soo realizes that the debris blocking the road was moved there on specific monster orders. Young-Soo asks Aleph if she has encountered variant monsters, but the AI girl confirms she has not. Languet abruptly halts the group as she senses strong monster pheromones in the air. Young-Soo scans the dark facility, unable to locate any threats. He questions if the creatures are hiding behind them.
A massive monster drops from the ceiling with a piercing screech.
The creature slams into Young-Soo, pinning him to the floor.
Young-Soo struggles back the monster's snapping jaws.
He grunts in frustration while trapped under the beast.
A desperate struggle ensues as he keeps the claws away.
Young-Soo calls out to check if his teammates are safe. He orders everyone to take cover against the wall.
Young-Soo opens fire while the team scrambles for safety.
Languet delivers a powerful strike to the creature's hide.
Aleph steps in and executes the monster with precision. Young-Soo urges the team to move forward and warns Ingress to watch his back.
A monster lunges toward Ingress as the group retreats. The creature lands a blow on the fleeing Ingress.
Aleph intercepts the beast mid-leap and slashes it down.
Aleph asks Ingress if he is injured and he thanks her while confirming he is fine.
Young-Soo orders the group to maintain their forward momentum.
A monster growls from the shadows of the corridor.
Young-soo takes aim through his weapon's sex. Young-soo fires his weapon and tells Langit to take his plasma cutter. He commands the team to finish off the fallen creature. Young-soo instructs Langit to strike without getting in his line of fire. The group battles their way through the dark, narrow tunnel.
Another monster emerges, snarling from the shadows.
Langit and Young-soo coordinate a final blow on the creature.
Young-soo calls out to Ingress for further direction.
The survivors reach a fork in the facility corridors.
Ingress directs the group toward the right-hand pass. Young-soo acknowledges the order as they continue their escape. Young-soo looks back at the monster-infested tunnels. He readies his weapon for another close encounter. Gunfire illuminates the rainy exterior of the base. The team reaches a platform outside under the heavy rain.
Aleph alerts Young-soo and Langit that they have successfully made it outside.
The AI girl promises to rejoin the group shortly as she provides cover.
Aleph reports via radio that the lower levels are now clear.
The group walks toward a massive facility door in the rain.
Young-soo notes Ingress must unlock the door and mentions Languid's detection of fearful pheromones.
Ingress prepares to open the door, warning everyone to stay on guard.
Ingress pulls the heavy manual lever to release the lock.
The massive command center doors slowly begin to part. A voice from within commands the group to drop their weapons.
The door fully opens to reveal the rainy night sky.
The Boomy Defense Force identifies themselves and demands an immediate surrender. A lone survivor questions the identity of the approaching defense force.
Ingress commands the hidden figure to step out and show themselves. A blue-skinned man identifies himself as a former research group member.
Terrace nervously reveals himself with his hands held high. A dark shadow shifts ominously within the cold corridors. Ingress demands to know what Terrace is doing in the facility. Terrace explains that he was desperately fleeing from traitorous forces. He reveals that he lost his companion while searching for food.
Terrace begs the group for help in finding his missing companion.
Young-soo reflects on his initial confusion regarding the term for family. He deduces that the desperate man must be referring to his kin. Terrace breaks down in tears, offering anything in exchange for aid.
He reiterates his credentials and former affiliation to the group.
The frightened researcher confirms his name is indeed Terrace.
Terrace recounts his struggle to find safety amid the chaos.
The loss of his family weighs heavily on the sobbing man.
Young-soo confirms if Terrace's goal is to save his family. Ingress acknowledges the plea and prepares to verify his identity. He commands Taurus to state his department and his superior's name.
Terrace provides the names of his superiors to prove his status.
Ingress exhales a breath of relief after confirming the details.
He orders his team to stand down and lower their weapons. Ingress formally identifies himself and tells the researcher to relax.
Terrace bows in respect, recognizing Ingress from his past visits. He pleads specifically for the rescue of his loved ones.
Despair overcomes Terrace as he collapses onto the cold floor.
Aleph cold-bloodedly prioritizes the primary mission over rescuing civilians.
Young-soo explains Aleph's alien nature and her planetary mission to Taurus. Young-soo asks if the fallen propulsion unit belongs to his group. He demands more details about the crashed equipment's pans.
Terrace describes a white satellite bearing the distinctive Atalante logo.
He realizes he knows exactly where the vessel is located.
Terrace offers to guide them to the crash site for help.
Aleph calculates that the trade significantly increases their mission success rate.
Young-soo decides to prioritize the rescue mission alongside Alice.
Ingress asks if Terrace knows a way to escape the base.
Terrace mentions a vehicle called a Barrelangita in the hangar.
Ingress assigns Young-soo to the rescue while he prepares the ship.
The group splits up to handle their respective high-stakes tasks.
Young-soo notices Ingress' injury and suggests Langit provide defense instead.
Terrace expresses his deep gratitude for the team's willingness to help.
Young-soo instructs Langit to guard Ingress during the repair process.
Langit admits she has become emotionally synchronized with Terrace's plight. She promises to protect Ingress while Young-soo handles the reft here. Young-soo promises to return quickly as he departs with Aleph. His heavy boots splash into the dark waters of the lower level. The rescue party navigates the flooded corridors deep within the hangar. Young-soo checks in with Ingress as they reach the bottom floor.
Ingress confirms over the radio that he is nearly finished with repairs. Ingress works diligently to complete the maintenance on the escape vessel.
Technical repairs proceed on the massive hangar machinery.
Terrace looks up as someone checks her issues.
Dong Young-soo and Aleph arrive to provide an update.
Terrace is overcome with emotion after being reunited with his family.
Dong Young-soo orders a swift retreat as Aleph confirms. Terrace introduces his companions as visitors from a distant Earth.
Dong Young-soo identifies himself and urges the group towards safety.
A rhythmic vibration from within the facility alerts Dong Young-soo. Terrace warns that the submarine hangar's floodgates may be opening.
Dong Young-soo decides to flee through an alternate.
A massive wave surges through the dark flooded corridor. Dong Young-soo informs Ingress that they have diverted their pass.
Terrace identifies their destination as the Eastern Mudflats.
Dong Young-soo relays the group's current heading via radio. The approach of a massive presence alarms Dong Young-soo. Ingress prepares to launch the vessel from the cockpit.
Dong Young-soo acknowledges the plan while guarding the young boy. Terrace points the group toward a nearby exit.
Dong Young-soo leads the charge toward the bright opening. The survivors freeze in shock at the sight before them.
A massive barred gate creates a sudden dead-end.
Terrace urgently explains that the gate requires manual activation.
He locates the manual handles hidden within the wall.
Terrace prepares to lift the heavy mechanism himself.
A violent surge of water sweeps the survivors off balance. Aleph warns of a lethal electric current in the water.
The group struggles to recover as the water recedes.
Terrace commands his family to move toward the exit first.
The team combines their strength to lift the massive lever. Massive iron gears begin to churn within the wall.
Dong Young-soo signals that the floodgate is finally open.
A grim realization washes over the white-helmeted man.
Dong Young-soo discovers the gate will shut if not held.
Aleph signals for Dong Young-soo to move forward immediately.
Terrace takes over the lever, sacrificing his chance to escape.
Dong Young-soo hesitates, looking back at the brave researcher.
Aleph shoves Dong Young-soo forward to ensure his survival.
Aleph demands Dong Young-soo run as he voices his frustration.
The group sprints toward the light of the Opal Sea. Terrace shouts the final coordinates of the mission's objective.
He specifies the Sulfur Stone area near the research headquarters.
Terrace begs for his family's protection as a monster looms.
Dong Young-soo looks back at the closing darkness in despair. A violent impact echoes through the flooded hangar corridor. A colossal, multi-eyed behemoth emerges from the deep.
The monster's strike hurls the survivors into the air.
Nobe falls helplessly toward the churning ocean below. Dong Young-soo dives through the air to catch Noe.
He shields Nobe as they crash into Miwater.
Dong Young-soo ensures the child's safety after their manning.
A voice commands Dong Young-soo to retreat as Ingris's aerial platform hovers over the monster-filled water. The massive Garita entity looms as a white-robed figure lies face down in the water.
Dong Young-soo expresses his frustration while holding the young boy. Aleph descends the steep incline at high speed. Electrical energy surges through the shallow water. Aleph is dwarfed by the massive electrified Garita entity.
A massive electrical discharge repels the spear wielder.
The colossal monster towers over the survivors.
A white armored boot splashes into the water. Laser fire eliminates several approaching monsters.
Dong Young-soo informs Ingris they have nearly arrived and requests a lower altitude. Ingris acknowledges the command from the cockpit.
A monster is violently struck down in the surf. A massive limb whips to the air.
A large projectile or mud strike hits Ingris aerial unit.
Ingris reports a damaged wing and initiates an emergency land-in. Dong Young-soo reacts in shock to the crash.
A pack of smaller monsters sprints across the flax.
Dong Young-soo provides cover fire while telling Nova to protect his hearing.
Heavy footsteps churn the shadow wire.
Young-soo continues to fire as a monster closes in.
The survivor fights off the surrounding form.
Nova asks to be let down, prompting a surprised response from Young-soo. Young-soo places the blue-skinned boy on a seat.
Nova channels his power through frost-covered breath.
Two monsters lunge at the defenseless-looking giant.
Swirling water surrounds Nova as he prepares his defense.
A geyser of water erupts around the one.
The freezing blast catches the monsters off guard.
The giant entity's eyes glow with menace.
The massive creature pauses its assault on the survivors.
A smaller monster growls while lowering its head.
A precise laser shot pierces the monstrous skull.
Lengeet arrives with her rifle and checks on Dong Young-soo's condition. She explains that Ingris is busy with the necessary repairs.
Aleph contacts the group via radio to request a status update.
Aleph reports that the recovery process is 50% complete. Aleph identifies the commanding monster and its control over the smaller entities, then asks for an update.
A voice notes that the child has successfully stalled the monster's attack.
Young-soo explains the forced landing while holding Nova close.
Lengeet warns that the monsters are swarming toward Ingris's location.
Ingris demands the team hold their ground while he completes the repairs.
Aleph concludes that killing the lead entity is the primary objective. The giant monster's eyes flare with red light.
Aleph reports the mission success probability and awaits orders from Dong Young-soo.
Young-soo indicates the target location while firing his weapon. Nova alerts the group that more monsters are flanking them from the rear. Young-soo turns toward the child while preparing to move.
He drops a specialized tool from his utility belt.
Young-soo commands the boy to hold on tight for extraction. Dong Young-soo carries Nova as the colossal monster lubes.
Young-soo delivers a powerful blow to a smaller entity.
The rescue continues as Ingris's vessel hovers above.
Ingris requests the delivery of the plasma cutter. Aleph establishes contact through the communication channel.
A question is raised regarding who will receive the weapon.
Lengeet volunteers to retrieve the equipment from the platform.
The aircraft descends to facilitate the weapon's handoff.
Aleph instructs the pilot to maintain their current velocity.
Aleph races across the surf with mechanical precision.
She calculates that constant speed is optimal for the delivery.
Aleph analyzes the probability of a successful handoff.
She confirms a perfect success rate as Lengeet catches it.
Ingris maneuvers the vessel toward the primary target.
Language prepares to deploy the specialized plasma muckern.
Young-soo strikes down another beast during their retreat.
The massive behemoth roars as the survivors draw near. The aerial unit glides over the massive bridge structure. A devastating blast of energy erupts across the sky.
The high-powered projectile flies toward the beast's head.
A massive explosion marks the end of the struggle.
Young-soo sprints toward the descending extraction vessel.
He catches a hand reaching out from the platform.
The team is safely hauled aboard the aircraft. The neutralized gorilla lies defeated on the mudflats. Smaller creatures gather around the remains of their leader. Aleph observes the aftermath with a stoic expression.
The sun sets behind the distant research headquarters.
Ingress checks on Youngsu's safety as they messed.
Youngsu asks Aleph about her current operational status. Aleph reports the mission's success and the monster's neutralization. Youngsu notes the loss of their vehicle but recovered gear.
Aleph stares into the fading light of the sunset. She muses on whether perfect calculations could save everyone.
Aleph begins a somber report on the mission's casualties.
She informs the group that Saren has been lost.
A silent moment passes as the news is delivered. Youngsu processes the heavy weight of the casualties.
Aleph carries a fallen companion toward the others.
She confirms that both Saren and Terrace are DAC. Aleph holds Saren's body while delivering the final report.
She explains that Terrace's body was beyond recovery.
The group stands together on the crimson-tinted Vult. A man shields Nova's eyes from the grim scene. Nova stoically recalls his father's wisdom regarding death.
Ingress listens as the survivors discuss their traditions.
Youngsu asks how the people of Bumi handle death.
A man explains their clinical process of resource recycling.
Youngsu questions the lack of a formal mourning ceremony.
He finds the planet's utilitarian burial system suffocating.
Nova looks on with a somber and reflective expression.
Dong Young-soo proposes honoring the fallen using his homeland's traditions.
The blue-skinned man listens to the suggestion in silence.
A lone tree stands atop a flower-covered hill at sunset.
Youngsu carries a shovel as he approaches the designated burial site.
The shovel strikes deep into the soft, purple-tinted earth.
Youngsu identifies the hilltop as the ideal location for the grave.
Aleph offers his assistance as Youngsu begins to dig the grave.
Youngsu requests food and water while Aleph acknowledges the command. The blue-skinned man and woman volunteer to help with the work. Youngsu suggests that their help with the digging would be appreciated. The team begins the arduous labor of digging into the hill.
Shovels continue to turn the dirt under a deepening twilight sky.
Youngsu pauses to catch his breath after the heavy labor.
He resolution to stay strong while watching the others. Aleph arrives with the remains as Youngsu muses on his place in paradise. Youngsu reaches out to receive the white burial shroud.
They solemnly lower the remains into the prepared ground together.
Youngsu asks Aleph to locate a flat rock to use as an altar. He finds a suitable tree branch to serve as a marker. Youngsu uses a knife to carefully shape and carve the wood.
Aleph asks where to place the stone while Youngsu directs her.
Incense sticks burn brightly between two small rocks.
Youngsu writes the names of the deceased onto paper strips. He requests that Aleph bring forward the food and water offerings.
Aleph carefully places the food on the makeshift altar.
Youngsu stands before the grave in a prayerful and respectful stance.
He performs a deep formal bow on his knees.
Youngsu rises slowly after completing the first part of the rite.
The survivor performs another bow to complete the Earth-style farewell.
Youngsu calls Nova over to join the ceremony.
He explains that this is the traditional way to say goodbye in his world.
Youngsu invites Nova to participate, and the boy agrees. Nova asks about the unfamiliar letters written on the paper sticks. Youngsu explains that he used his own homeland's native language. The memorial tablets honor the memories of Terrace and Saren. Nova reads the word beloved and feels the weight of his loss. Youngsu instructs the boy on the proper movements for the ritual. Nova mimics the ceremonial pose with a solemn expression.
The grieving child kneels and bows before his parents' grave.
Youngsu tells Nova he can rise as the boy begins to cry.
Nova collapses onto the ground in a fit of heavy sobbing.
The boy's tears fall onto the dark soil as he mourns.
Nova expresses his deep longing for his mother and father.
Youngsu offers comfort by assuring him they live in his heart.
He suggests they send the spirits to heaven by burning the tablets.
The paper strips ignite, carrying a final message into the sky. Youngsu holds the flame high while whispering a final goodbye. The survivors watch the glowing embers drift into the night air.
The blue-skinned man asks about the next objective, and Youngsu confirms the location.
The blue-skinned man tells Youngsu to depart with the barrel and Gita come morning. The blue-skinned man encourages Youngsu to rest comfortably through the night. Youngsu looks back over his shoulder and wishes the man a good tomorrow.
He questions if lying would have been matter.
Youngsu comforts Nova by telling him that those who are gone live on in the heart.
He muses on childhood beliefs about morality.
He recalls memories of good people.
He recalls the existence of bad people.
He remembers the smiles of his friends.
Youngsu views his lost companion's images. Chapter 16, title card, Tears in Heaven. Recruiting and credits are shown here. He compares freezing blood to expanding water.
He explains moisture removal during hibernation preparation.
He describes the antifreeze injection process.
He presents a diagram of organ risks. Oxygen deficiency causes brain cell damage.
Resupplying blood carries cardiac arrhythmia risks.
Thawing carries a risk of pulmonary edema.
He warns training risks disability or death.
Heads will collect mandatory training consent forms.
Chapter 17, title card, Cold Sleep. Liam is informed of his antifreeze allergy. Liam reacts with utter shock.
Liam asks if he is now disqualified. Reassignment follows for the disqualified candidate. He's offered a return to base.
Liam protests the decision based on merit. The official warns of the fatal risks.
Liam accepts the decision in Gauss.
Liam salutes and says his goodbyes.
Only 2 candidates remain.
They identify Jocelyn Yeats as the next.
He asks Jocelyn about her health concerns.
Jocelyn admits to past struggles with allergies.
The exam showed no current health issues.
She asks about the consequences of failure.
He tells her the signature is optional. He notes the option to return home.
Jocelyn signs her name while asking on hair.
A voice expresses mild concern. Jocelyn smiles with newfound determination.
The final candidate has a brain implant.
David explains he removed his green implant.
The official warns of remaining metal fragments. David acknowledges the risks while citing precedent. They confirm his paperwork is correct.
David signs his participation term.
David commits to the dangerous training program.
The group gathers in the hallway.
Dong Young-soo acknowledges his section chief.
The orange-eyed man wonders which personnel will be removed from the program.
The orange-eyed man identifies Ray, Jesse, and Liam as those being discharged, noting Jesse will return to Alaska.
Surprised by the high participation, the orange-eyed man asks Young-soo if he has ever undergone hibernation training.
Young-soo admits he has not, explaining that despite his Space Force status, his life has mostly resembled the Army.
The orange-eyed man reveals that he has experienced the training before.
He begins to describe the nature of hibernation training to Young-soo. The orange-eyed man characterizes the process as essentially a technical issue. Young-soo pats his companion's shoulder, expressing his hope that the training proceeds without any accidents. The two men walk together through the sterile facility hallway.
Young-soo leads a group of robed candidates toward their objective.
The group arrives at the massive hangar containing the hibernation pods.
An official commands all personnel to enter their assigned hibernation chambers.
Engineers prepare the candidates, announcing that anesthesia will begin as soon as everyone is ready.
The maintenance crew confirms that the first 2 chambers are ready for operation.
With the maintenance section fully prepared, the officials announce the beginning of the anesthesia process.
A heavy slumber descends as the hibernation cycle is initiated.
Young-soo reflects on the horror of hibernation, where even the most terrifying nightmares cannot be escaped by waking up. In a dark dream, masked figures stand over a fallen man in a suit. Young-soo walks past the grim scene, unable to intervene in his own memory. A lone car erupts in a violent inferno within the void. Young-soo stands before a gallery of floating screens displaying fragments of his past. He stops to face a full-length mirror standing amidst the flames. A gentle hand suddenly reaches out to touch Young-soo's shoulder.
The girl with cat ear headphones appears behind him, a haunting presence in the dream.
The memory begins to shatter and burn away as the dream destabilizes.
Young-soo gasps for air as his consciousness returns in a medical gay.
A doctor observes him and announces that Young-soo has successfully recovered consciousness.
Still dazed, Young-soo asks if the other members of his team are safe. A young candidate nearby cheerfully holds up a peace sign, confirming his body is alive.
Another survivor notes that while 2 weeks have passed, it only felt like a short nap.
Young-soo breathes a sigh of relief through his oxygen mask, thankful for their survival.
He offers a weary, bittersweet smile while resting in his bed. A sudden, sharp realization or memory flashes through his mind. Chaos erupts in the ward as a nearby candidate suddenly collapses onto the floor. Doctors rush to the scene, shouting that a crew member has collapsed and ordering immediate monitoring of his vitals. Young-soo realizes the truth of his current situation. He acknowledges that he is now on planet Boomy and that his current surroundings are merely a nightmare.
He muses that perhaps the previous day's battle was simply too exhausting for his mind to handle.
Young-soo stares at a dark silhouette standing before his hospital bed.
He desperately wonders why this nightmare refuses to end.
The dream world expands, showing Young-soo standing between his past life and his current struggle.
Strange llama-like creatures known as Yarapa roam through a field of red flowers. A blue-skinned girl excitedly points out one of the creatures to her companion.
The pair watches the animals, but the girl admitting she is seeing them for the first time as well.
The Yarapa look up toward the sky as a loud mechanical noise approaches.
A large aerial transport unit glides over the crimson landscape.
Aleph explains her role as a high-priority emergency unit, though she remains uncertain about the fate of the other crew members.
The elder blue-skinned man reports a dying battery and orders everyone to prepare for an immediate landing. As they disembark into the flowers, the elder man asks Nova if he remembers which tunnel they originally used.
Nova recalls a waist-height device located at the tunnel exit.
Ingress confirms that he roughly knows the location of the device.
Nova suddenly spots something in the distance. Young-soo asks why they have stopped moving forward.
An agile creature scurries through the field of flowers.
The blue-skinned woman identifies the small animal as a raba. She asks Nova if he thinks the creature is prey.
She excitedly offers to catch the creature for Nova.
She explains that she must catch it for them to eat. The woman lunges forward to capture the creature.
She notes the creature's surprising agility as it escapes.
Ingress suggests that they spend the night in a nearby cave.
Young-soo tries to spark a fire with stones. Young-soo struggles with the fire while the woman returns.
She proudly announces that she caught 2 of the creatures.
Young-soo suggests that they eat their meal quickly. The meat roasts over a crackling fire.
Ingress prepares the food and tells the others to eat.
The woman offers a piece of the meat to Nova.
Nova hesitates while remembering the cute living creature.
Young-soo prepares to eat the food himself.
Aleph warns of unknown risks from alien protein structures. Young-soo asks about the potential health problems.
Aleph proposes conducting an immediate allergy test.
Aleph performs a small skin test on Yamseb.
They wait together for the test results. Aleph advises Young-soo against eating the Yulia meat.
Nova rejects the mushroom meal offered by Young-zir. Nova eats the meat to grow big and strong.
Ingress asks about the source of Nova's martial training.
Nova explains that he learned from Master Paraka.
Ingress wonders if the master is still alive.
Nova recounts the tragic details of the village invasion.
Ingress reacts with a sullen look.
Young-soo reflects on how their worries never end.
Young-soo wishes he had brought a guitar along.
He asks Aleph about the plasmacrinus condition.
Aleph reports that the magnetic field device is operational. Young-soo suggests making sound with the device. Aleph offers to try and exposes her internal components. The group listens curiously to the generated noise. Young-soo instructs Aleph on adjusting the audio pitch.
Ingress asks about the electromagnetic sound production.
Young-soo explains the process of frequency conversion.
The woman notes Young-soo's musical playing posture. Young-soo enjoys playing his makeshift electronic guitar.
Young-soo invites Ingress to try playing the device.
He teaches the others the rhythm of the song.
Nova watches the group bonding together.
Young-soo teaches Nova how to drum on a box. The blue-skinned girl Langit claims she must perform the most important role in their group.
Languid begins singing a song about going on a journey, instructing the dark-haired man with the nasal tube to follow her lead. Langit stops the man, insisting that the pitch of his singing must perfectly match her own for it to work.
The entire group, including Aleph and Nova, joins in to collaborate on their makeshift musical performance. Thrilled by the result, Langit asks Young-soo with a wide smile if this collaborative sound is what music truly is. Young-soo prepares to explain the human term used for a group of people who create music together.
He envisions a rock group on stage to illustrate the concept of a musical band.
Looking slightly somber, Young-soo expresses his regret that they do not possess a real guitar for their song.
Young-soo uses a technical device to synthesize and add more complex audio layers to their simple musical sound.
He holds a journal belonging to Dean Daniels, considering the possibility of adding rap lyrics to their composition. The group continues to build their melody atop the rhythm they established together during their campfire practice.
Langit playfully sings about her outfit brand while Young-soo reads through the journal entries.
The ensemble harmonizes on lyrics questioning what is truly important as they bond over their shared music. Young-soo wears a gentle, weary smile, clearly enjoying the rare moment of harmony and peace.
Langit's face radiates pure joy as she continues to sing, fully immersed in the musical moment.
As night falls over the field of flowers, the group concludes their song while the chapter title card for their band appears.
Transitioning to a tactical discussion, Ingress asks if they must pass through the village to find spacecraft wreckage, while Young-soo suggests hiding.
The armed group walks toward a massive structure, intending to avoid urban warfare by staying out of sight. Young-soo, now wearing a white helmet and mask, identifies their current location as the territory of the Northern Research Group.
From a high walkway, they overlook a vast valley filled with countless white cross-like markers standing in the flora.
The cemetery-like field stretches toward the horizon, carpeted with red and blue flowers and topped with glowing structures.
Looking at the somber field, Ingress remarks that the landscape resembles the cover of a metal music album.
Languid identifies the countless structures scattered throughout the valley as remnants of an old defense system. Young-soo sniffs the air through his mask, detecting an overwhelming and strangely sweet pheromone scent.
Languid is unsure of the scent's origin, describing the fragrance as something that feels cleanly refined.
Ingress orders everyone to seal their helmets to block out the spreading external pheromones in the village air.
The group gathers their equipment as Ingress asks Nova if he knows where the local villagers have gone.
Nova admits he fled during the chaos, but confirms that a significant battle took place in this area.
Young-soo asks Nova for a more specific count regarding the number of enemies involved in the fight.
Nova recounts how about 200 villagers were eventually overwhelmed and pushed back by their enemies.
Ingress finds the silence of the area suspicious and asks if Nova requires a helmet for his protection. Young-soo explains that Nova does not need a helmet because she has received specialized Paluma training.
He elaborates that Nova possesses far stronger chemical signal control than an ordinary inhabitant of the planet.
Ingress asks if this unique biological ability is related to controlling creatures in the sea. Young-soo describes the Palama ability as the tactical power to spray specific pheromones at the right moment.
Nova asks the group if they are genuinely unable to detect the pheromones currently in the air.
Ingress explains that on Earth, pheromones are primarily used for communication by insects like ants and bees. Young-soo warns that the Paluma trait also allows for the control of other sentient beings. Ingress asks for more specific details on how this biological control mechanism actually functions. Young-soo explains that pheromone signals are used to command a group to either attack or stop their actions.
A diagram of a man with split-colored skin illustrates how powerful pheromones can force an entire group's emotions to synchronize.
He clarifies that once exposed to these signals, the victims will act in total unison according to the command. Ingress acknowledges that the Paluma ability is a truly dangerous and lethal talent to encounter. Young-soo notes that their current helmets effectively filter the external air, keeping them safe from the signals.
Nova explains that Paluma individuals can be visually identified by their unique hair color.
Ingress confirms he is not a Paluma, and Young-soo asks him to clarify his history with the ability. Ingress denies having any Paluma talent, explaining his knowledge comes from seeing the horrifying power used by past colleagues.
Alef's mechanical motion sensor suddenly activates, alerting the group to movement in their immediate vicinity.
Alef pinpoints a human-sized target directly ahead of them at the 12 o'clock position.
The group takes a defensive position on the white ramp as an urgent order to retreat is given.
Young-soo asks Alef if she can pinpoint the target's exact location.
Alef reports detecting movement coming from above to Dam Young-soo.
Young-soo looks up and questions if the attacker is above.
Young-soo quickly reacts to the danger.
The attacker swings his blade.
Young-soo narrowly evades the strike.
Young-soo fires at the attacker.
The shot cracks the mask.
Young-soo kicks the opponent back.
The broken mask reveals identity. Nova recognizes the attacker and asks if it could be his master.
The attacker breathes heavily now. Young-soo stares and questions if the attacker is Garaka.
Nova screams for his master to stop.
Confused by the identity, Young-soo asks about the master while aiming. The attacker dodges the projectile.
He slides across the ground.
He prepares for another attack.
A close-up of his foot.
He lunges forward with Ford.
He strikes Young-soo from behind.
A wide swing misses target.
The blade damages Young-soo's helmet.
Langet screams Young-soo's name and confirm.
Gas leaks from the helmet. Young-soo falls and gasps that he cannot breathe.
Alef notes that she cannot use her weapon.
Langet glares with intense fury. Langet lunges at the attacker.
A close-up of Paraka's eye.
Paraka prepares to defend himself.
The two combatants clash together.
A booming command orders them to stop. They stop and look surprised.
The woman in black identifies Paraka and apologizes for the harm he caused.
Sweat drips from Young-soo's chin.
Langet offers her helmet because Young-soo's teep was cut.
Young-soo lies on the ground and curses. Langet expresses shock while looking at Young-soo's face.
Young-soo gaps for air now.
Alef explains it is an immune response from pheromones in the air.
Langet asks what they should do next.
Alef suggests using the helmet and finding medication for him.
Nova offers to try and control the pheromone problem.
Nova looks on with determination.
Alef discusses the medication while the woman in black asks about the spacecraft.
The woman mentions the interesting technologies found in the wreckage.
She offers to help if they ask for assistance.
The group watches her leave. The woman asks why they do not ask for help.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket reports that the rash is getting worse.
The brown-haired man suffers from red rashes as a voice states they need to secure his airway and block external air. The blue-skinned girl with black hair holding a white helmet cheerfully offers her helmet. The masked figure in the yellow jacket questions the blue-skinned woman and the armored blue-skinned man about the thick aerosol concentration, wondering if they will be okay as a voice announces a spacecraft crashed nearby.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket asks the blue-skinned woman if she is the owner of the wreckage.
The blue-skinned woman with long white hair offers assistance, noting they look like they need help.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket asks if they know about the Adelante.
The blue-skinned woman with long white hair confirms her knowledge of the Adelante and states she expected advanced technology from these guests, while the brown-haired man sweats with exertion. The blue-skinned woman with long white hair, accompanied by the armored blue-skinned man, suggests they discuss matters on their way to her workshop.
The blue-skinned woman with long white hair asks about the story that brought them all this way.
The group walks up a grand staircase while a voice explains they came to this remote research group. The masked figure in the yellow jacket explains their home planet Earth has become unfavorable for survival and that this planet is now threatened by a giant meteor.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket continues, stating they are on a mission to destroy it, while the blue-skinned woman with long white hair asks if they intend to destroy the Mount Aragbata.
The blue-skinned woman with long white hair asks if they are Boomy saviors.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket suggests they could be described that way if their plan succeeds.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket looks on thoughtfully, saying, "Really?"
The blue-skinned woman with long white hair smiles, remarking that it's an exciting story.
Nova, the white-haired blue-skinned boy, calls out Ingress's name.
Nova whispers to Ingress, the armored blue-skinned man. Ingress listens intently, remaining silent.
The blue-skinned woman with long white hair states that she recovered some items from their species.
She adds that she is not sure if there are any medications, showing cases marked Adelante.
The blue-skinned woman suggests it might be better to create the medicine directly as she handles a record player.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket, surrounded by musical notes, asks if there is a way.
The blue-skinned woman with long white hair, also with musical notes, asks if he knows the principle of Boomian physical enhancement.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket explains that he understands it as physiological changes through pheromones, standing near the brown-haired man.
The blue-skinned woman clarifies that Boomian physical enhancement isn't completely natural. The blue-skinned woman, inserting a capsule into a device, reveals that these are the main characters.
The blue-skinned woman with long white hair smiles, holding up 2 vials. The masked figure's red eye glows intensely.
The masked figure asks if they are nano-sized drawbacks.
The blue-skinned woman in a white hoodie explains that Boomians are injected with these when young and trained to utilize them.
The blue-skinned woman with black hair shows a severe reaction as a voice describes how red pheromones entering the body cause strength but also side effects.
The blue-skinned woman in the white hoodie explains that these nanobots manage the side effects that occur when pheromones take effect.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket, looking at the ailing brown-haired man, questions if she intends to suppress Dong Young-soo's immune reaction with that.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket looks focused and concerned. The blue-skinned woman in the white hoodie acknowledges Dong Young-soo's name and explains her plan to check his immune mechanism and train the nanobots to suppress the reaction.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket comments that since the nanobots are optimized for Boomians, target adjustment will be necessary.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket holds a blood bag, stating it contains Dong Young-soo's clean blood.
The masked figure asks if they can use Dong Young-soo's blood as a control group for the experiment.
The blue-skinned woman in the white hoodie, holding the blood bag, asks if he will trust her skills.
A microscopic view shows a round cell next to a textured, irregular cell. The blue-skinned woman in a white hazmat suit peers into a microscope. The blue-skinned woman in the white hazmat suit and the masked figure in the yellow jacket observe silently by the microscope.
The blue-skinned woman with a bun asks about their affiliation.
The blue-skinned man in the white suit questions if he was a priest, while the blue-skinned woman in the white hazmat suit confirms she was trying to become one.
The blue-skinned woman in the white hazmat suit expresses mild irritation, asking why they are still inquiring about affiliations in this world. The blue-skinned man in the white suit notes that her knowledge is exclusive to priests and states he would know her if she truly were one. The blue-skinned man in the white suit looks thoughtful. The blue-skinned woman in the white hazmat suit introduces herself as Panora, stating she was trying to become a priest, while the blue-skinned man in the white suit asks if noble families occupy those high positions.
Panora, in her white hazmat suit, reveals her past identity, stating she was Talana and was part of the Northeast Council.
The blue-skinned girl with black hair looks shocked, repeating, "Talana?"
Panora explains that making people laugh and cry by imitating heroes on stage is similar to priests enchanting people.
Panora adds that someone of ordinary background like her could never be assigned to the priesthood.
The blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet claims that denying differences based on origin is an insult to the Boomi federal system.
Panora, holding up a finger, accuses the blue-skinned man lying on the gurney of having a hypocritical attitude, like the nobles, regardless of his origin. A close-up shows a blue-gloved hand injecting a needle into a brown-skinned hand, causing a slight reaction.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket, observing a device, reports that the body temperature is dropping.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket asks Dong Young-soo about his breathing, and Dong Young-soo confirms it is much more comfortable.
The masked figure in the yellow jacket acknowledges that the treatment is working and expresses gratitude. Panora expresses gratitude to the masked figure for their dedication to Boomi.
Panora looks thoughtful, adjusting her glasses.
Panora expresses frustration that Boomians' lack of sincerity about their world led to their current predicament.
The blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet reacts to Panora's statement.
Panora challenges the blue-skinned man in the white suit to be honest with his questions, specifically asking if he suspects her of being a traitor. The blue-skinned man in the white suit remains silent.
Panora smiles and confirms she is indeed a traitor.
The blue-skinned man in the white suit questions why Panora helped them, given their obvious affiliation as defense forces. Panora removes her outer garment, explaining she was more moved by their story than by Rash's plan, and is curious about their next steps. The blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet observes Panora intently.
The blue-skinned girl with black hair and red facial markings looks angered.
Panora, holding a glowing object, requests a detailed explanation.
Panora asks what role she might play in that story.
Dong Young-soo appears exhausted, slumped over.
Panora, smiling, asks if they came by directly killing Garita.
Dong Young-soo defends his actions, stating he had to kill them because they charged at him, and questions if there's an unknown combat method. Panora, gesturing to the landscape, reveals that the colorful elements in the research group's front yard are traces of nerve gas. Dong Young-soo, sweating, remarks that he finds killing with guns and swords cooler, like ancient heroes.
The blue-skinned man in the white and red suit questions Panora's loyalty, asking why she would betray the traitor's side if she is with them.
Panora reiterates her desire to save the planet and points out a problem with their plan. The blue-skinned man in the white suit asserts his ability to solve the problem and then questions what problem she refers to.
Panora notes their intention to eliminate the Mounta Ragbata.
Panora questions why they aren't planning to eliminate or change the orbit of the Mounta Ragbata in space.
Panora concludes that their plan currently lacks any provision for going into space.
Dong Young-soo looks concerned and sweats.
Panora reveals that Raja has occupied the nearest spaceport, 8-Way Path.
Panora explains to the blue-skinned man in the white and red suit that achieving space travel, either through 8-Way Path or launching rockets, requires significantly more people than they currently have. The blue-skinned man in the white suit questions if Panora alone makes this goal possible.
Panora, raising a hand, asks if he considers her a hopeless fool.
Panora stands amidst several armored figures, with Dong Young-soo seated nearby.
Panora reveals that through mental synchronization, she found many talented individuals in the research group and believes they can be utilized.
The blue-skinned man in the white suit asks in surprise if she synchronized all of them.
Panora confirms the synchronization, attributing it to Raja's plan.
An armored figure is shown with glowing red features as a voice describes the plan to let all Boomians die dreaming happy dreams until the planet's final moment. Several armored figures are shown with glowing red features as the voice describes the plan to let all Boomians die dreaming happy dreams.
Panora smiles, remarking that Raja, lacking understanding of emotions, wrote such a childish script.
The blue-skinned man in the white suit proposes freeing the people.
Panora, with a subtle smile, challenges him by asking if he wants the synchronized people to wake up and kill her.
The blue-skinned man in the white suit insists on freeing the research group members and leaving, suggesting he will continue the mission with them and asks if saving the planet is not beneficial for her too.
Panora looks serious, questioning if he expects her to save the planet and live beautifully while he trembles in a corner.
Panora asks Ingress who would be more effective at saving the world between the two of them. Panora lets out a mocking laugh as her controlled soldiers loom in the background.
Young-Soo remains silent, his brow furrowed with deep internal conflict.
He weighs Ingress's rigid morality against the undeniable strategic advantages of Panora's ruthless plan.
Young-Soo considers if surrendering to Panora's terms is the only way to gain a viable army. He curses his hesitation, realizing that staying neutral will only lead to a total loss for everyone. A sudden, visceral cry erupts from Young-Soo as his inner turmoil reaches a breaking point. A tragic memory flashes by, showing a woman weeping as she holds a crying child.
Another memory reveals a soldier attempting to comfort a man suffering from a mental breakdown.
Young-Soo recalls a past life where he served as a section chief, contemplating a chessboard. His subordinate questions his hesitation while Young-Soo stares intently at the game pieces.
The board shows a clear threat, with a black bishop placing the white king in check.
Young-Soo admits he was too focused to notice the check, but argues for a technical victory.
The darker-skinned man reminds him that chess is defined by protecting the king from checkmate.
He explains that in their world, the king is the only one who survives the guerre. He bluntly states that the pawns are the only ones destined to die in the conflict.
Back in the present, Young-Soo rejects the idea of treating soldiers as disposable, easily used tools.
Young-Soo confronts Panora, acknowledging their desperate need for more personnel to complete the mission. He questions if she intends to maintain her brainwashing methods once they encounter more of their kin.
Panora admires his conviction and his beautiful dream, but recognizes that his mind is already made up.
She shifts her tone, suggesting that killing their targets would be simpler than converting them.
Young-Soo decides that his only option is to take out Panora, the enemy commander. Nova reacts with shock as Young-Soo suddenly launches himself into a desperate attack.
Young-Soo lunges forward with incredible speed, his movements blurring as he closes the gap. He charges directly at Panora, aiming to end the confrontation with a single strike. Panora remains eerily calm, raising a single finger to signal her counter-strategy.
A Paluma soldier intercedes, intercepting Young-Soo's strike and forcing him back.
Young-Soo commands his allies to flee while he and Aleph handle the incoming plat. He urges Languit to escape as the facility becomes a chaotic battlefield. Young-Soo readies a hidden blade, preparing to fight through the waves of controlled soldiers. He clashes with a masked Paluma warrior, his movements fueled by desperation.
Panora mocks his surprise, promising the Earthling that she has no intention of killing him.
She gazes at him with a twisted smile, labeling him the protagonist of her world's final story.
Young-Soo barks orders for Aleph to prioritize protecting the others during the retreat. Nova finds herself overwhelmed and pinned down by the sheer number of Paluma soldiers. Young-Soo spots his discarded gear, noticing a weapon still attached to his supply pack. A Paluma soldier stands as a silent sentinel over the equipment, blocking Young-Soo's path. A close-up reveals the Paluma soldier's eye, bloodshot and glowing with an unnatural red light.
Young-Soo delivers a brutal strike to the soldier's head, attempting to break through the line. He continues the assault with a powerful punch, desperate to reclaim his lost advantage.
Surrounded on all sides, Young-Soo snarls at the soldiers to stay away from him.
One of the controlled warriors seizes Young-Soo's rifle, holding it high in a show of dominance.
The soldier tosses the valuable weapon aside, effectively disarming the group further. Nova calls out a warning, alerting Young-Soo that Panora has begun to move. Young-Soo watches as Panora weaves through the ranks of her obedient, masked army. Panora stands guarded by her troops, her white hair standing out against their dark uniforms. Young-Soo shouts a final command for her to stop as he continues his frantic charge. He dives through the group, his body a blur of motion as he tries to reach the commander.
A close-up shows Young-Soo's helmet as he exerts every ounce of his remaining strength.
Young-Soo's eye ignites with a fierce orange glow, signaling a final surge of power.
The blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet directs Languit to the hole ahead. Languit crouches by a hole with her weapon as the blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet kneels beside her amidst a ta-ta-ta-ta sound.
Three masked figures wearing black masks, red shorts, and blue shirts sprint down a corridor.
The blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet, exhaling, notes that it's a defensive passage and suggests they rest.
The blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet observes Langit and Nova, remarking on Raja's ability to control so many people at once.
He wonders if Raja is releasing pheromones using gas sprayers, as a vision shows sprayers over a field of red and blue flowers with crosses. He states that if his theory is correct, he needs to go to the central control room to operate the sprayers, as a burst of energy emanates below.
The blue-skinned man's face shows distress as he softly calls out Langit's name.
Languit, with red eyes and facial markings, clenches her teeth in pain.
Nova pulls at Langit, who is struggling with her weapon, shouting her name and telling her no.
Nova looks determined and strained.
Nova pleads with Langit to snap out of it as she is enveloped in a red aura, aiming her weapon.
Langit fires a red beam from her weapon, pushing Nova back.
Nova is visibly shocked and affected by the blast.
Languid, with red facial markings, stands over Nova, struggling against an unseen force while holding her weapon.
The blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet wonders if her condition is due to not wearing a helmet.
A blue-gloved hand trembles while gripping a red bar. Languit's face contorts in intense struggle and anger, with red eyes and markings.
The blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet activates something on his suit, emitting a blue mist.
Ingress, without his helmet, gently tells Langit to run away. Ingress, with a distressed expression, points the way, stating the operation failed and she must run in that direction.
Langid, wearing her helmet, looks at Ingress, calling his hang.
Ingress, with blood on his face, sternly tells her not to look back.
Ingress, clutching his head with more blood on his face, urges her to hurry.
Languid, looking back slightly, hears Ingress call out Noma's men.
Languit, now calm in her helmet, states they will proceed with the original plan and asks for the central control room's location.
Nova, looking resolute, replies that he will lead the way. Dong Young-soo, being carried, is roused as Ingress declares that he, Nova, and Dong Young-soo will go to the central control room and then questions Langit.
The blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet, surrounded by other masked figures, states he will provide support and asks for directions.
Languit, wearing her helmet, asks Nova if he knows the route to the central control room from their earlier position.
Nova excitedly explains there's an elevator straight inside and they need to go to the bottom floor.
The masked figure carrying Dong Young-soo shouts that he understands, then asks Aleph to separate the entangled opponents.
The armored masked figures indicate it's possible to separate them if weapon use and violence intensity against Boomians are not limited.
Aleph, the white-haired masked figure with red eyes, asks for approval.
The masked figure carrying Dong Young-soo approves but specifies that Langit, Nova, and Ingress are excluded from the violence.
The armored masked figures with glowing red features acknowledge the instructions.
The armored masked figures with glowing red eyes and features prepare for combat.
Aleph, the white-haired masked figure with red eyes, looks determined amidst lines indicating speed or tension.
Aleph, the white-haired masked figure, strikes a masked opponent.
Aleph swiftly dodges one masked opponent while striking another.
Aleph delivers a powerful kick to a masked opponent in flight. Aleph, the white-haired masked figure, lands a swift blow to a masked opponent's head.
Aleph expertly grapples a masked opponent, twisting the round.
Aleph stands over a defeated masked opponent while other opponents surround them.
Two masked figures hold down the blue-skinned man in a white suit with a helmet, one with a knife.
Aleph, the white-haired masked figure, uses a whip-like weapon to strike the masked figures holding the blue-skinned man.
A close-up shows Aleph's whip-like weapon striking.
Aleph's whip-like weapon slices through an encounter. Aleph strikes a masked opponent's head with a swift punch. Aleph, the white-haired masked figure, swiftly attacks two masked opponents, creating a burst of purple energy.
Aleph seizes a Paluma soldier from behind.
A cold gaze through a visor.
Aleph delivers a devastating close-range track.
Aleph orders his ally to flee toward the elevator while he holds the line. He presses the attack as his comrade escapes.
The sight of the elevator offers a fleeting moment of hope.
A wall of armed soldiers blocks their path to safety. Aleph realizes the sheer scale of the ambush. Nova and Languid discover a grotesque biological machine leaking toxic fluids.
Languid identifies the device as a massive Garita pheromone processor. He warns Nova about the pheromone dispersal and tells her to take cover.
Nova positions herself to take a decisive shot. She targets the core of the biological organ.
Panora questions if destroying the device will truly end the conflict.
She warns of the chaos that would follow a loss of her command signal.
Panora towers over the area within a massive chitinous Garita creature. She claims her actions are motivated by a desire to save lives.
A Paluma warrior discovers Nova's hidden sniping position.
The soldier lunges as Nova struggles to defend herself. A desperate struggle for control of the heavy rifle ensues.
Two sets of eyes meet in a moment of lethal intensity. The soldier grips the barrel to redirect the weapon.
Nova fires a point-blank blast that lights up the corridor. The impact throws her across the metallicular.
A heavy sword swings down toward Nova's position. She uses her weapon to block the crushing blow.
Panora looms over the scene, expressing a reluctance to kill her kin.
A brutal kick sends Nova sliding across the deck.
The giant beast advances as the soldiers regroup.
Nova finds herself pinned under the weight of a massive limb. A lethal claw hovers just inches from her face.
Panora questions why the younger generation should pay for the past.
She stands atop her biological mount, the victor of the skirmish. Panora directs her disdain toward the greed of the elder generation.
Nova trembles as the crushing weight of the beast increases. Her gaze sharpens with a final, desperate resolve.
Language shouts a vital discovery about the machine's mixing tank. Panora turns her attention toward the unexpected disturbance.
Aleph confirms his successful entry into the core systems. He stands over the brain-like organ, holding a neutralizing agent. Aleph prepares to inject the substance into the machine's heart.
Panora acknowledges Youngsu's cleverness in planning such a bold reversal.
He continues his work unmoved by Panora's mockery.
Blood drips from a wounded hand onto the floor.
Youngsu reaffirms his commitment to doing what is right.
Languid laughs through the pain, his face painted with battle.
Wounded and surrounded, Languid refuses to back Tom.
He launches himself into a final suicidal charge.
Tall mechanical spires across the planet begin to vent gas. Thick clouds of chemicals roll over the landscape. A blue eye behind a cracked mask shows intense concentration.
A white helmeted commander in black and red armor calls out Ingris's name repeatedly to another armored figure.
The distressed blue-skinned man without a helmet is addressed as Paraka by the white-helmeted commander, who asks if he is regaining his senses.
The white-helmeted commander stands in a field of red and view flowers with crosses, observing the surroundings.
Two blue-skinned masked figures express surprise in the flower field.
A masked figure in a white suit confronts Panora, demanding that she surrender immediately.
Panora, with blue skin and a red organic headpiece, expresses regret that she never wanted to execute this plan.
Panora's blue eye shows a determined resolve amidst her regret.
Panora's thought bubble conveys her feeling of having no other option.
The masked figure in a white suit questions Panora about the plan she mentioned.
A large beige multi-limbed gorilla creature lets out an aggressive growl.
A close-up of an intense red eye indicates alarm or heightened awareness.
Two large beige gorilla creatures are active in a red field, one struck by a red energy beam.
A gorilla creature bares its sharp teeth with red energy swirling around its mouth.
Panora, with a subtle smile, sarcastically asks what plan the masked figure means. Two blue-skinned masked figures appear bewildered in the flower field.
A masked figure observes a vast field of red and blue flowers adorned with numerous white crosses with large skeletal structures of gorilla in the background.
A blue-skinned masked figure gasps in shock, clutching his chest as purple energy emanates from it. Another masked figure reels back, seemingly impacted by a powerful, unseen force.
Panora, with a faint smile, reveals her true plan is to kill all the Boomians present.
The chapter title, Grand Finale Ep 22 Counterpunch, is displayed.
The masked figure in a white suit questions Panora's shocking intention to kill all the Boomians.
Panora, standing within a gorilla's mouth, explains that those gathered here prioritize their own safety over the survival of their species.
A blue-skinned man in a white helmet looks on with concern, while Panora states that Dong Young-soo should join her.
Panora concludes that Dong Young-soo would be better off joining them rather than siding with the hypocrites.
A figure in red and white armor and Aleph in gold and black armor fight a large gorilla, a fierce battle ensuing.
A sword lies on the floor, surrounded by a purple glow and speed lines. Panora reacts with an exclamation of surprise. Languid in red and white armor grapples with the gorilla, as Aleph in gold armor engages another part of the creature near the dropped sword.
Aleph in gold and black armor descends rapidly with striking speed.
Aleph delivers a powerful kick to the gorilla, knocking back a red armored figure nearby.
Aleph in gold and black armor strikes a masked opponent amidst a burst of purple energy. Aleph in gold and black armor fights dynamically with a weapon, generating purple energy trails.
Aleph asks Languid if she is alright while grappling with a gorilla, and Languid confirms she thinks so.
A white-suited figure with a backpack is warned that Panora is approaching as a gorilla advances.
A blue-skinned figure with black hair is flung onto a purple glowing surface, a sword lying beside him.
Dong Young-soo, in a white suit with a backpack, evades an attack from the gorilla, the sword still on the ground.
Dong Young-soo quickly retrieves the fallen sword.
Dong Young-soo slashes at the gorilla with his sword, creating a powerful impact.
Dong Young-soo calls out to Al, requesting supporting fire against the gorilla.
Aleph, in gold armor, acknowledges the request and instructs Dong Young-soo to maintain distance from the gorilla.
Aleph takes aim with a rifle, providing cover for Dong Young-soo, who is battling the gorilla.
The gorilla is struck by an energy blast, a large impact visible on its body.
The gorilla recoils from the attack, purple liquid streaming from its mouth.
Dong Young-soo questions if the gorilla is truly defeated.
Dong Young-soo looks up, surprised by something above him.
Panora stands atop the gorilla as a voice exclaims her presence on the monster.
Dong Young-soo is engulfed in purple energy, expressing shock and confusion.
A close-up of a blue-skinned man with a white mask, Dong Young-soo, is warned by an off-panel voice to watch his footing.
Dong Young-soo confirms he is fine as he struggles to hold on to purple tendrils, falling into a chasm.
A white helmeted commander discusses the strategy of inducing a chain collapse by targeting vulnerable points.
The commander assigns Dong Young-soo the role of Alexander.
He explains the mission to lead the cavalry in a wedge assault toward the enemy center. The cavalry charges forward on white bikes, flags waving in the wind. A massive gorilla creature looms ahead, its fierce expression filling the view. A white helmeted soldier declares his intent to handle a specific enemy.
A rider clashes violently with a Garita. A gloved hand grips a weapon with intense force.
A devastating blow lands, creating a bright explosion.
A burst of energy erupts from the Emat.
Soldiers fight desperately amidst the chaotic battlefield.
The commander orders the cavalry to pivot to the left. He specifies the primary goal is to capture Panora in the center.
Giant Garita creatures dominate the landscape as the assault continues.
A white-helmeted soldier looks sharply toward an unseen threat.
A soldier is suddenly knocked back by a powerful force.
A soldier manages to stand atop the massive body of a Garita.
A warning echoes through the air about traitors and gunfire.
A rider in a red cape is shot, sent flying from his pike.
A soldier tells Barda he will climb the giant Garita to capture Panora.
He commands the troops to break through the center and attack the left.
A blue-skinned soldier in a helmet confirms the order.
A rider charges headlong into a Garita.
A white-helmeted soldier stares ahead with grim determination.
The blue-skinned warrior in a red cape recognizes the soldier, calling him Dean and wondering if he survived.
A brown-skinned man shouts for Dong Young-soo and Langitara.
Dean's eyes widen in shock.
The blue-skinned warrior tells Dean to focus on chasing Panora.
The warrior asks for Panora's current location.
The blue-skinned warrior concludes that Panora has left the field and suggests heading to the canyon.
A white-helmeted soldier is bewildered as the blue-skinned warrior initiates mental synchronization.
Purple energy tendrils emanate from the warrior, connecting him to the surroundings.
A mysterious narration describes the first step to becoming light as listening.
The blue-skinned warrior stands centered within a swirl of energy.
The narration suggests that heaven will unfold after action is taken.
Jocelyn, a pink-haired woman in a yellow shirt, prepares a massive spike chain.
Dean is stunned, questioning if it is really Jocelyn. Jocelyn looks back with a confident, mocking smirk. Dean's expression is one of pure disbelief.
Dean opens fire on Jocelyn and the Fiatic.
The brown-skinned man looks on with a confused expression.
A white-helmeted soldier is blindsided by a massive spiked club.
An electric shock surges through the soldier as the weapon connects. The soldier groans in pain from the hit.
The narration reflects on the path to becoming light.
A white-helmeted soldier shoots another soldier who seems corrupted.
The narration emphasizes the importance of listening. A figure wielding the spiked club stands menacingly. The narration concludes that heaven will unfold after action.
A soldier is crushed by the heavy spiked club. The white-haired woman in a suit notes her natural resemblance to Langit while a voice asks for an explanation.
A blue-skinned woman with my hair.
A secret is kept hidden from her. Ingress is told that the exterior work is finished and everything appears to be in order.
Ingress explains that the subjects are currently downloading the newly created programs.
Young-soo brings food and asks if there are any adverse reactions to bully food.
Ingress credits nanobots for his improved condition while Young-soo expresses his relief.
Young-soo observes that the treatment has made Ingress responsive to mental synchronization.
A question is posed regarding the specific conditions required for mental synchronization to work.
Young-soo reflects quietly over his drink.
Ingress explains that pheromones neutralize the mind and electrical signals dictate specific actions.
Aggression increases whenever the skin of a Boomian turns a deep red. An illustration shows how synchronized Boomians will attack enemies upon receiving an electrical command.
Young-soo realizes that seeing visions of friends was a command to target intimate memories.
Ingress confirms that escaping sophisticated mental control on one's own is nearly impossible.
Young-soo worries about combat hallucinations, but Ingress warns him never to remove his helmet.
A method of giving strong external sensations is mentioned to break through mental illusions.
Ingress reveals a device he modeled after Young-soo's guitar to provide those sensations.
A plasma cutter has been modified for use within active combat areas.
The mechanical instrument hums with energy.
Young-soo reacts with genuine, wide-eyed amusement.
He holds the weaponized guitar firmly. Ingress presents a component that will allow the device to produce audible sound. Young-soo puts on the earbuds and asks if he can try playing the instrument.
Ingress permits him to play, but admits he is too exhausted for more work today.
Young-soo promises to repay the favor as they exchange a supportive thumbs up.
Ingress looks weary while holding his drink.
He wonders if Earthlings normally prefer their drinks to be this strong.
Young-soo sits on the ledge, strumming the mechanical guitar under the twilight sky.
Langit approaches him through the dark camp while carrying a lit lantern. Strumming through the quiet night air.
Langit stands behind him, listening silently.
She places one of the earbuds into her own ear.
Langit asks about the origin of the music he's playing.
Young-soo explains it is a song he suddenly remembered making with a friend.
Fingers dance across the mechanical strings.
Langit says the music makes her feel both happy and sad at the same time.
He confirms he is composing the music with those exact feelings in mind.
A flashback shows a girl at a computer admiring a melody Young-soo composed. She explains they need an ending song for the conclusion of their live broadcasts. Young-soo's request for payment earns him a lecture about prioritizing money over art.
They lean in close to brainstorm a title for their new musical project.
The girl reflects on the song's purpose as a broadcast pleasure.
She suggests naming the track Grand Finale and clicks the mouse to save it.
Returning to the present, Langit asks if he truly likes the melody.
The two sit together as meteors streak across the sky above their camp. A hand plucks a red flower.
The blue-skinned woman in white armor offers the flower with a gentle smile.
The white-haired woman says that an atmospheric composition analysis is now possible. She inhales the flower's fragrance scent.
The woman questions the current situation.
She created memories from sensory data.
The woman asks about interlinked senses.
She identifies emotional bundles of memories.
She notes the program's original effectiveness.
Program download grants authority over facilities.
This authority assists Young-Soo's upcoming mans.
She emphasizes a final critical point, a plea for Langit's continued safety.
Young-Soo and Langit share an eye.
He explains the historical role of priests.
Scientific progress led to loss of faith.
Religious messages eventually lost all meaning.
He laments the modern loss of belief.
He urges acceptance of their current reality. Young-Soo prepares to address the group.
He identifies the next strategic target. The mission includes finding ship engines.
He warns of traitors occupying facilities.
He demands an end to sacrifices.
Young-Soo proposes negotiating with the traitors.
Barda rejects the ridiculous negotiation plan.
He cites Panora's history of kinfire.
Young-Soo justifies peaceful outreach to survivors.
Paraka emphasizes the long-standing internal war.
Younger generations cannot imagine coexistence.
The elder shares the desire for revenge.
He asks what the homeland requires.
He suggests fighting only if persuasion fails.
Paraka agrees but prepares for inevitable combat.
Paraka asks for the mission decals.
Phase 1 involves Alepht's terrain assessment.
Young-Soo confirms Alepht's authority over facilities. Hiji silences questions regarding its authority.
Paraka allows the briefing to proceed.
Phase 2 focuses on opening routes. Young-Soo's armor damage necessitates tactical withdrawal.
Barda questions Young-Soo's lack of kava. Young-Soo's leadership is deemed too valuable.
Young-Soo praises Barda's previous combat performance. Barda reacts with stunned, silent shock. Barda feels embarrassed by the recognition.
Final phases involve occupation and isolation.
Night falls over the desolate landscape.
Aleph reports the fortress has been had.
Young-Soo plans around a detected surveillance post.
Aleph suggests a tactical flank entry.
Aleph deploys ropes for the climb.
The team prepares to scale the wall.
A warrior begins the rapid ascent.
Aleph reports that the interior entry is complete and identifies a small number of guards.
Young-Soo orders the group to subdue targets without killing them to ensure their cause is understood, while Langit agrees.
A blue-skinned man with long white hair sits in a defensive posture.
A metallic hand suddenly covers the blue-skinned man's mouth to silence him.
Langit stands behind the masked Aleph as they prepare for the next phase of the mission.
The warrior in white and red armor presents a new proposal.
Young-Soo commends Langit on her successful mission and orders her to return to the camp safely.
Langit acknowledges the order and decides to return with the small group of survivors. Ingress reports that the commander of the second stronghold has expressed a willingness to cooperate.
Paraka reports that the third stronghold has also agreed to cooperate while a young blue-skinned person apologizes.
Young-Soo looks out over the landscape and observes that their plan is proceeding smoothly.
Barda experiences interference in his communication device as he is told Aleph is arriving for support.
The decision is made to proceed into the facility despite the technical difficulties. Barda stands guard with his sword drawn near a pile of scrap as an observer watches from above.
2 armored warriors stand at the ready while a third teammate dashes further into the corridor.
A bald, blue-skinned man in dark armor is startled by a sudden greeting.
Barda points his blade at the man and formally initiates a negotiation. A gun is pointed at Barda from off-screen as he is ordered to drop his weapon. Barda reacts with wide-eyed surprise at the sudden counter-ambush. A bright light flares as Barda is caught in a precarious situation. A woman in a white spacesuit aims her weapon and demands that everyone surrender.
The order for the intruders to disarm is repeated firmly. Barda is held at gunpoint while the blue-skinned man on the ground watches the confrontation.
A close-up shows the intense focus in Barda's eye behind his visor. Barda looks up with a start as the situation escalates. The woman in the spacesuit maintains her aim and repeats her demand for compliance.
A metallic sword falls to the ground as a sign of submission. An armored ally rushes to Barda's side to check for Angelus.
The newcomers are aggressively questioned about their identity by the woman in the spacesuit. Barda identifies himself as a friend of Young-Soo in an attempt to de-escalate the conflict. The woman in the spacesuit reacts with visible shock to the mention of Young-Soo's name.
Barda waits tensely for a response after declaring his affiliation.
The woman in the spacesuit requests a private conversation to clarify the situation.
A helmeted ally advises her to keep the discussion brief.
The 2 parties approach each other to begin their dialogue.
Barda explains that he is there for a negotiation and that Aleph is on his way. The woman in the spacesuit expresses confusion regarding Aleph's proximity. Barda uses rapid hand signals to communicate a silent message.
The meaning of the hand gestures remains unclear to the observers. The woman in the spacesuit narrows her eyes as she processes the new information.
She signals for Aleph to stop as a small drone hovers in the background.
The woman skillfully spins her handgun before holstering.
She commands her drone, Tinkerbell, to disable the signal jamming in the area.
She activates a device on her arm to perform a comprehensive radio scan.
Barda watches as the woman initiates a formal communication broadcast.
The transmission continues as she identifies herself to the receiver.
Aleph is challenged to state his official affiliation, rank, and identification code.
The woman joyfully identifies herself as Sergeant Jocelyn Yates, callsign Poet, and celebrates Aleph being alive. Aleph expresses his relief that Jocelyn survived and asks for her current coordinates.
Jocelyn confirms she is stationed at the facility known to the Boomians as the 4th Space Observatory Base. Jocelyn mentions meeting an alien claiming to be Youngsu's friend.
Aleph confirms it is Barda, a comrade sent for negotiations. Jocelyn asks if the section chief is alive and gave an order.
She agrees to assist if it is Youngsu's command. Jocelyn demands to speak with the commander of the traitors.
The traitor leader demands to know their true purpose.
He questions how they knew about the approaching fleet. Barda demands the release of prisoners and an alliance.
The traitors find his bold demands highly amusing.
Boisterous laughter erupts throughout the traitor base.
The leader reminds Barda that he is currently captured.
He orders his men to bring out Palra.
Barda prepares to use force to talk sense.
A massive chained foot stomps near Barda.
The leader challenges Barda to a duel. He promises a talk if Barda defeats the prisoner.
Barda is forcefully stripped of his protective armor.
The leader insists on a fair, unarmored fight.
He declares the only rule is a fight to the death.
The female prisoner, Kalra, breathes heavily in anticipation.
Jocelyn reports the forced duel to Av.
The brutal combat between Barta and Kalra begins.
Kalra skillfully dodges Barda's initial offensive strike. She counters with a rapid, high-impact kick. Barda takes a heavy punch to his face.
He is sent reeling back by the prisoner's strength.
Kalra remains focused in her aggressive combat stance. She lunges forward to press her tactical advantage.
Barta struggles to anticipate her relentless left-hand strikes.
Kalra parries his defense to land another blow. A powerful strike impacts with explosive red force.
Barda grunts in pain as you've hit.
Kaldra delivers a swift blow to Barta's abdomen.
She continues her assault with a direct punch. Barda questions why she is hesitating mid-fight. Kalra urges him to win and save her sister.
Barta prepares to deliver a finishing strike.
He slams the female prisoner into the ground.
The traitorous observers react with stunned, silent disbelief.
Barda demands his meeting with the traitorous commander.
A sword is thrown into the ground before him.
The leader looks on with a cold expression. He warns that the only outcome is victory or death.
Barda trembles as he reaches for the weapon.
Jocelyn watches the escalating tension with a neutral expression.
Kalra lies defeated while Barta's resolve visibly wavers.
Jocelyn asks Aleph if Barda's death would complicate matters.
She intervenes and proposes a peaceful, non-lethal solution.
The leader warns the Earthling not to interfere. He refuses to grant any special diplomatic treatment. Armed traitors in gray masks aim their rifles from behind a barricade.
Jocelyn Yeats asks about the rules of engagement, and Aleph dictates that negotiation is the priority, followed by unrestricted force if it fails.
Jocelyn acknowledges the orders as her support drones hover overhead.
The specialist prepares to deploy her plasma weaponry.
A drone hums with energy as it is deployed into the fray.
A masked traitor reacts in confusion as his weapon is disabled by the drone.
Jocelyn Yates declares that negotiations have failed and formally enters her combat sequence. Jocelyn initiates a plasma deployment to control the battlefield.
A mechanical gauntlet reaches out toward the glowing energy of a drone.
Jocelyn maneuvers through the air with practiced views.
The masked soldiers watch in shock as the specialist moves overhead.
Jocelyn switches her suit systems into an offensive attack mode.
She repeats her combat status and identity to the hostiles.
Jocelyn commands the traitor to lead her to the commander, warning that resistance is pointless. A blue-skinned man in light armor claims he has no knowledge of the commander's location.
A cryptic broadcast echoes through the facility as Jocelyn looks toward her drones.
Jocelyn is startled by a group emerging from the Darpatus.
Masked figures in white uniforms exhale a strange red gas into the air.
A red-skinned woman with short black hair offers to guide them to the commander while a blue-skinned ally looks on. The red-skinned woman gives a firm command for the team to follow her.
She leads the charge as the group of survivors rushes toward a set of scares.
Jocelyn reports that brainwashed Boomians are attacking and contamination is detected, and Aleph orders the commander's capture. Jocelyn expresses confusion regarding whether she should use lethal force on the brainwashed targets.
Aleph clarifies that non-lethal actions will better support their long-term goals.
The red-skinned woman and her allies engage the brainwashed attackers in swift, non-lethal combat. With a powerful strike, the red-skinned woman subdues another assailant.
A traitor in a gray mask watches the skirmish from a high balcony.
A heavy stomp punctuates the rhythm of the close-quarters battle. The red-skinned woman leaps at a swordsman to press the attack. A high-impact strike connects with explosive force.
The masked swordsman readies his blade for a counteroffensive.
A drone zips through the corridor to provide tactical support.
The warrior narrowly avoids a strike from a glowing energy weapon.
The masked traitor looks down in shock at his damaged, smoking sword.
The red-skinned woman continues her sprint while an ally delivers a forceful kick to a guard.
Beams of energy light up the dark hallway as the team advances.
Jocelyn uses her shield to protect her allies as they charge through the corridor.
Masked enemies fire their rifles at the oncoming group.
The team moves in a blur of speed toward their target.
Jocelyn asks for directions mid-run, and her ally shouts for them to turn right.
A sharp sound echoes as the group maneuvers through the base.
A masked traitor peeks around a corner with his rifle ready.
Jocelyn slams into the guard with her heavy shield, knocking him aside.
The force of the impact sends the traitor reeling as the group rushes past.
Jocelyn asks Garita about the massive object appearing in front of them.
They arrive at a colossal, organic brain-like structure, and Jocelyn exclaims at its sheer size. Jocelyn demands a dialogue with the bald, blue-skinned commander standing atop the structure.
She and her ally urge him to do the right thing and free the Boomians, promising him safety.
The commander aggressively rejects the offer and asks if any defense forces actually survived.
A massive, clawed hand suddenly descends from above, threatening the entire group.
The red-skinned woman with short purple hair and red eyes stands among other figures, demanding to be released.
The red-skinned woman is grabbed from behind by a blue-skinned man in gray armor while other masked figures surround them. The blue-skinned man in gray armor wields a weapon as another masked figure attacks the red-skinned woman, who is then told by an off-panel voice to give up the weapon.
The red-skinned woman with short purple hair and red eyes swiftly throws a punch.
Her punch impacts the face of the blue-skinned man in gray armor.
The red-skinned woman fiercely punches the blue-skinned man in gray armor multiple times.
The red-skinned woman's intense red eye shows determination.
The red-skinned woman stands over the blue-skinned man, angrily calling him a slave bastard.
She grapples with and strikes the blue-skinned man in gray armor.
The red-skinned woman lifts the blue-skinned man in gray armor.
She delivers a powerful kick to the blue-skinned man's face.
The blue-skinned man is knocked out of view.
The red-skinned woman with short purple hair and red eyes crouches to retrieve a sword.
A masked figure in a white suit carrying a person expresses shock, and the person asks why they are merely observing.
The blonde-haired woman in a white helmet declares the prisoners are a risk.
She considers that if the prisoners die, it could be attributed to a mad outburst, as the red-skinned woman with a sword confronts a gray-armored figure.
The blonde-haired woman in a white helmet looks on with concern alongside the dark-haired man in a white helmet.
The dark-haired man in a white helmet urges urgency.
The blonde-haired woman in a white helmet resolves to take action.
The red-skinned woman with a sword attacks a gray-armored figure with speed. She swings the sword, striking a masked figure in a white suit. The blonde-haired woman in a white helmet, whose helmet is sparking, tells someone to calm down.
The blonde-haired woman in a white helmet asks the red-skinned woman with purple hair who she is.
The dark-haired man in a white helmet questions the red-skinned woman's actions.
The red-skinned woman, Kalra, identifies herself.
Kalra states her intention to be sent to Raja at 8-Way Path to deceive him.
The dark-haired man in a white helmet questions her motive for such an action.
Kalra angrily reveals her sister is at 8-Way Path. Kalra, holding her sword, asserts her goal is to kill Raja and save her sister.
The dark-haired man in a white helmet states he will devise a plan and instructs Kalra to lower her weapon.
A hand wearing a red and black glove grips a sword tightly. The blonde-haired woman in a white helmet observes Ingress, a blue-skinned man holding a rifle along with other armored figures. Ingress, the blue-skinned man in white and red armor with a red cape, trembles while holding a rifle, displaying distress.
A close-up of Ingress's tense blue eye and face reveals his fear.
A close-up shows the blonde-haired woman's focused expression.
A close-up reveals Ingress's hands trembling as he grips the rifle.
The red-skinned woman stands towering over two masked figures below.
The blonde-haired woman in white and red armor holding a rifle observes with two other masked figures.
The blonde-haired woman in a white helmet muses to herself.
The dark-haired man in a white helmet instructs Ingress to manage the situation, and Ingress agrees.
The blonde-haired woman in a white helmet tells Jocelyn to plan the team members' return, adding that other Boomians will join the discussion.
Jocelyn, the blonde-haired woman in a white helmet, acknowledges the instructions.
The dark-haired man in a white helmet turns his attention to Jocelyn. The dark-haired man remarks that Jocelyn appears very attached to the species, to which Jocelyn questions her own feelings.
Jocelyn, the blonde-haired woman in a white helmet, asks the dark-haired man for a promise.
Jocelyn insists that if he ever has to choose between the lives of their crew members and the species, he must prioritize the crew members. The dark-haired man in a white helmet remains sour.
He expresses that her point is obvious but questions her underlying motive.
Jocelyn reminds the dark-haired man that the crew members' lives include him.
Jocelyn sternly warns him never to sacrifice himself.
The blonde-haired woman in a white helmet contemplates an extreme scenario.
Her thought continues, considering if a kid's life is put on the scale. Langet, the blue-skinned woman in white armor with a red cape, stands ready with her rifle.
Dong Young-soo, the dark-haired man in a white helmet, pauses in thought, then expresses his understanding.
Dong Young-soo reassures Jocelyn that her concern regarding the kid's life will not come to pass. A voice calls out Young-soo to a man in a military uniform walking along a street during a flashback.
A dark-haired woman holding a guitar case tells Young-soo to take it.
Young-soo declines the guitar case, stating his reluctance as a private, suggesting he might take it later.
The dark-haired woman reveals Young-Soo's deployment to Kazakhstan, urging him to take the guitar case immediately.
Young-Soo contemplates his imminent deployment. Young-Soo reluctantly accepts the guitar case from the dark-haired woman.
Young-Soo thanks the group as he prepares to leave in a white car. The dark-haired woman and others wave farewell, advising Young-Soo to take care, trust warmly, and contact them often.
Young-Soo reassures them from inside the car not to worry. Young-Soo's expression turns somber within the car.
Young-Soo thinks about whether he can pursue music again.
His thought concludes that music is no longer enjoyable.
A voice asserts that Raja was suspicious from the start.
Aleph, in yellow and black armor, states that Raja withheld important information, prompting another figure to ask what information.
Jocelyn reveals Raja withheld information about an approaching meteor and the Boomian's abilities.
Dong Young-soo expresses his belief that Raja is manipulating them to prevent interference. Dong Young-soo's determined gaze is visible through his honor.
Jocelyn asserts that they should eliminate Raja.
Dong Young-soo asks if Raja is considered that plaguening.
Jocelyn confirms the threat, explaining that they need to establish an Earthling nation and thus must eliminate Raja's group.
Jocelyn reacts with a surprised expression.
Dong Young-soo recognizes the statement from an administrative manual, asking if it was a quote from Charles Tilly.
Dong Young-soo remembers his obligation to report to Raja every 8 hours.
Dong Young-soo resolves to try communicating with Raja's side first, noting that 2 hours have already passed since his last report.
Dong Young-soo announces that the commander meeting is starting and requests Dong Young-soo's attendance.
Dong Young-soo informs Jocelyn he will attend a meeting.
Dong Young-soo instructs Jocelyn to give Raja a false report and communicate with Dean, and she acknowledges the instructions.
Jocelyn states she is in the communication channel and can be called if needed. Aleph addresses Langwit, noting that they have been waiting for 10 minutes.
Langit asks Dong Young-soo if he needs to record his report, and he replies that he wrote it briefly earlier.
Langwit asks about the psalm.
Dong Young-soo jokingly asks Jocelyn if she is trying to form a band, and she replies negatively. Dong Young-soo explains he asked Langit to sing because she is a good vocalist, while Jocelyn expresses suspicion that there is more to it. Dong Young-soo apologizes to Langit, telling her the song will have to wait.
Dong Young-soo instructs Jocelyn to communicate with Deputy Chief Dean and inform him of the outcome.
Jocelyn calls out to later.
Jocelyn tells Langwit that they need to install the antenna in a high place.
Jocelyn asks Langit if she wants to agothe here.
Aleph offers to go with Jocelyn to help with translation and work.
Langit agrees, stating they should go.
Jocelyn tells Aleph that she doesn't think Langwit needs translation.
Aleph enthusiastically states they will all go together.
A playful comment suggests Langit has affection for the section chief.
Jocelyn, climbing the antenna, asks if Langit and the section chief are in a special relationship, and Langit questions the term.
Jocelyn clarifies if special relationship refers to a Boomian and Earthling pairing, mentioning Langit and section chief Dong Young-soo.
Langit, a blue-skinned woman with black hair and a bun, looking shocked, asks Jocelyn if she and the section chief slept together.
Jocelyn, the blonde-haired woman in a white helmet, laughs heartily.
Linguit, with a confused expression, states that she doesn't understand what Jocelyn means.
Jocelyn, in her white helmet and gray-yellow suit, smiles brightly, exclaiming that she understood.
Jocelyn, with a knowing smirk, then suggests that Langit thinks of the section chief specially, describing it as different from other people.
Langit, looking surprised, asks why that is, wondering if it's wrong.
Jocelyn, seen from behind with her white helmet, tells Langit not to do dangerous things in the future.
Jocelyn continues speaking to Langwit, stating it is obvious that they both worry about each other.
Jocelyn, seen through her helmet's visor with a serious expression, instructs someone not to participate in combat from now on.
Langit, looking determined and angry, refuses, declaring she will follow Dong Young-soo as well.
Jocelyn, seen from behind, informs Langwit that she already told the section chief.
Langit's face shows a surprised and slightly worried expression. A red screen displays no signal with distorted lines, indicating a communication breakdown.
Jocelyn, looking concerned, wonders if communication is lost and if Raja is jamming the signal.
Jocelyn ponders whether Raja is deliberately trying to isolate Ben.
Langit stands on a dark road looking at a communication antenna, while Jocelyn further down the road is focused on a device.
Dong Young-soo, a dark-haired man in a white helmet and yellow shirt, asks the gray masked figures surrounding a seated blue-skinned man in a red cape if Kalra's statements were true. Aleph, the gray-masked figure, confirms that Kalra's emotions and statements are truthful and that he genuinely intends to eliminate Raja. Aleph states that securing the 8-way path is the top priority and that Kalra can serve as a guide. Then Ingris, the blue-skinned man in a red cape, asks if rockets are prepared at 8-way path.
Aleph informs Ingris that their comrade reported the engine is in orbit, so plans were changed to use Arbera Palaberma.
Dong Young-soo, the dark-haired man in a white helmet and yellow shirt, asks for an explanation.
Aleph explains that a rail surrounds their planet's equatorial sky, identifying a towering space structure, and clarifies that Arbera Palaberma is the station above Palaberma, which has 8 space elevators.
Aleph further explains that they can talk with the elevator if they take a plan.
Ingris, the blue-skinned man in a red cape, asks how they can get from the elevator to the engine.
Aleph reveals that there are many active attack satellites above 8-way path, which they can control to approach the engine.
Dong Young-soo, the dark-haired man in a white helmet and yellow shirt, realizes that he is referring to the satellites that attacked the Atalante.
Ingress, the blue-skinned man in a red cape, asks how they will form the team to meet their comrades. Dong Young-soo, the dark-haired man in a white helmet and yellow shirt, lists Jocelyn, Aleph, Kalra, and a priest knowledgeable about the local terrain as team members. A light blue-skinned man with white hair, wearing dark clothing and holding a gray conical object, volunteers to join them.
Aleph explains that the rest of the team can secure nearby airports by following Ingress, and that Langet will follow Ingress.
Dong Young-soo, the dark-haired man in a white helmet and yellow shirt, expresses concern for Langet, stating that she doesn't seem to have recovered from the mental shock yet, as Langet, the blue-skinned woman with black hair, is shown crying behind him. Aleph insists that Langet is a strong child and cannot be completely excluded from this historic moment.
Ingress, the blue-skinned man in a red cape, decides to assign Langet to the reserve.
Aleph agrees to the plan for now.
Aleph advises everyone to rest well for the next operation as Dong Young-soo and Ingress listen intently.
A blue-skinned woman with short black hair and blue eyes, wearing dark clothing, shouts that the Lord is dead.
Dong Young-soo, the dark-haired man in a white helmet, and Jocelyn, the blonde-haired woman in a white helmet, look on with serious expressions.
A thought bubble reveals the event happened 500 years ago.
A large, multi-eyed, tentacled creature with small white beings around it lies amidst red leaves, appearing dead or dormant. The blue-skinned woman with short black hair and blue eyes shouts again that God is dead.
A thought bubble reiterates that this occurred 500 years ago.
The large, multi-eyed, tentacled creature with small white beings around it is shown again, lying amidst red leaves. The blue-skinned woman with short black hair and blue eyes looks distraught.
A stone mural depicting human-like figures and a circular design is shown, as a thought bubble reveals that in ancient times, a species called God came to their planet.
The thought continues, explaining that they chose them among Bumi's countless lifeforms, showing the large creature God interacting with smaller figures.
The thought further details that they helped them build civilization.
The large creature God stands in a field with a blue-skinned person surrounded by crops. The thought continues, explaining that they also taught them how to handle garita, which served as spaceships in transportation, depicting a massive garita with smaller figures, and concludes that a long, peaceful era followed.
The thought shifts to a time when doubts emerged, showing a blue-skinned man in a helmet and red scarf looking suspicious.
The thought concludes that they believed God was transmitting new knowledge to their kin in space to dominate the Bumians, just as they had done with garita. The ancients killed God and then sliced its useful knowledge into pieces, sending them to laboratories. In a world without God, division occurred, and garita attacks continued.
Raja then revealed God to them, showing a hooded figure displaying a multi-eyed creature.
Countless Bumians submitted to Raja because he represented their only hope at the brink of extinction. The blue-skinned woman with short black hair reflects on a past misjudgment.
Dong Young-soo asks if the creature in question is God.
The blue-skinned woman with short black hair clarifies that it is merely a piece of God.
The blue-skinned woman with short black hair explains that God is a parasitic fungal lifeform, with a displayed creature being a small part separated from its main body.
The blue-skinned woman with short black hair warns against carelessly touching the creature to avoid spreading spores.
Dong Young-soo and the blue-skinned woman with black hair observe a beige, multi-eyed creature lying on the ground.
The blue-skinned woman with black hair explains that inhaling the spores can lead to mind control and that inventions like nanobots and mental synchronization originate from pieces of God. An unseen speaker informs Jocelyn that inhaling spores can lead to mind control, as Jocelyn and Aleph listen with concern.
Aleph, Jocelyn, and Dong Young-soo's group walk through a path filled with red mist.
Aleph reassures the group but warns that an immune reaction to the spores could cause suffocation.
Jocelyn looks at Dong Young-soo with concern, holding her rifle.
Jocelyn asks Dong Young-soo if he is unwell. Dong Young-soo reveals he has been injected with Bumian nanobots and instructs that if he confuses allies for enemies and attacks, they must kill him and tell Dean to carry out their plan. Jocelyn expresses understanding, connecting the guitar's presence to its potential use in combating mind control.
Aleph confirms the purpose of the guitar, comparing it to providing hobby items when waking from hibernation.
Dong Young-soo explains that strong external stimuli can break mental synchronization.
As the group walks past small white tentacled creatures, Dong Young-soo admits he isn't sure if he can handle the situation properly.
Dong Young-soo addresses Kalra, the blue-skinned woman in a white mask, who responds with a question mark.
Dong Young-soo explicitly instructs Kalra to kill him if he gets mind controlled.
Kalra acknowledges the instruction but expresses doubt about a subordinate's capability. An unseen speaker states that only Earthlings decide the life and death of crew members, as Aleph and Kalra listen.
Aleph advises following Dong Young-soo's instructions, warning that real priests trained at the central temple are ahead. Aleph further warns that the priests can instantly brainwash and manipulate behavior, urging them to prepare for the worst.
Kalra asks if there is a way to identify real priests besides their white hair.
Kalra winces in discomfort while stating that the priests have markings on their bodies. The group continues to walk along a path with red mist on one side and rocks on the other. Kalra, affected by the red mist, explains that the pheromone concentration ahead is too dense and suggests turning back.
Jocelyn questions why they can't proceed as the drone scouting showed no major danger, while Aleph speaks in an unknown language.
Kalra cries out that pheromones are penetrating her mask's filter.
Dong Young-soo agrees with Culver's suggestion to find another route, and Jocelyn confirms her understanding.
The white-haired man volunteers to reconnoiter.
Kalra shakes in distress amidst the red nest.
Jocelyn expresses concern for Dong Young-soo, asking if he is all right.
Dong Young-soo downplays his discomfort as a slight feeling, despite blue smoke emanating from his mask.
Kalra's eye shows her continued distress.
Dong Young-soo's eye shows his determined resolve despite the blue smoke around him.
Dong Young-soo claims to suddenly feel better. As the group is enveloped in blue mist, a blue-skinned woman in white clothing appears atop a pile of rocks.
Kalra reacts with surprise and alarm to the new arrival.
The white-haired, blue-skinned woman questions why Kalra and the Earthlings are in this area.
The white-haired, blue-skinned woman makes a gesture, speaking in a foreign language as blue energy surrounds her.
Kalra addresses the white-haired woman as sister and explains they are on their way to the high priest.
Jocelyn asks Kalra what she is doing, bewildered by her address to the white-haired woman.
Kalra, with a determined expression, urgently requests passage due to the pressing time.
Kalra stands firm before the white-haired woman who is surrounded by blue energy. Kalra explains that they need to rescue their comrade, prompting the white-haired woman to ask if it is not Raja's order.
Kalra explains to the white-haired woman that their mission is not Raja's order, but to meet their Earthling comrade.
A blue eye reflects the image of Dong Young-soo in his basque.
An unseen speaker identifies Dong Young-soo as the one who killed Panora. Dong Young-soo dismisses the death of Panora, stating he does not care.
The white-haired, blue-skinned woman instructs them to go to the center of the 8-way path, to Raja.
Dong Young-soo agrees, then tells Kalra to guide the way, but the white-haired woman interjects, stating only the Earthlings should go.
Kalra expresses concern that the Earthlings do not know the way, but the white-haired woman replies that no guide is needed as slaves will greet them.
Dong Young-soo, looking towards a tall structure, acknowledges the instruction. Dong Young-soo instructs Jocelyn and Aleph to move with him to the center, telling them to continue forward.
Jocelyn confirms her understanding to an unseen speaker.
The white-haired, blue-skinned woman questions why Kalra, whom she addresses as slave, has not left.
Kalra realizes that Raja is at the center. Pink energy streaks emanate from a pile of rocks where Jocelyn and Aleph are nearby.
Aleph shows a surprised expression.
Kalra lies on the ground as Aleph moves past the rocks amidst purple energy.
Kalra, struggling, declares she cannot stand.
Kalra expresses her deep contempt for traitors.
A blue-skinned, multi-eyed creature emits pink thwoke. Kalra holds her weapon, standing amidst red smoke. Kalra's eyes shows her continued distress. An unseen speaker states that it does not matter what suffering she endures, while Kalra urgently shouts for everyone to get out quickly.
Dong Young-soo calls for Aleph to use a smoke grenade.
Aleph deploys a red smoke grenade, announcing danger and contamination zone signals.
Kalra, with a menacing expression, questions the honesty of an unseen speaker.
A white-haired, blue-skinned, multi-eyed man emerges, labeling Kalra as a suspicious slave.
The multi-eyed man floats amidst red energy. The blue-skinned, multi-eyed creature again emits pink smoke.
Dong Young-soo's eye is focused and determined amidst red mist.
Dong Young-soo reiterates his order for Aleph to fire a smoke grenade.
Aleph fires a second smoke grenade, announcing a danger signal and contamination zone signal. Jocelyn asks Dong Young-soo if he is okay, reporting she can see particles, and Dong Young-soo replies that he is still fine. A gray, multi-pronged object emits blue smoke.
Kalra tells Dong Young-soo to get behind her, announcing she will try to neutralize the pheromones with calming pheromones using her device.
Dong Young-soo asks Jocelyn if enemies are detected on the drone around them.
Red sound effects accompany the visual of splintered debris.
Jocelyn, running with Aleph and others, reports that enemies are swarming from all directions. Jocelyn reacts with alarm as blue-skinned, multi-eyed creatures fall around her. An unseen speaker calls out Jocelyn's name as creatures continue to fall around her. 3 blue-skinned, multi-eyed creatures in white clothing stand right.
Dong Young-soo shouts to open fire and tells Jocelyn to get down.
A blue-skinned, multi-eyed creature is hit by purple energy. Dong Young-soo fires his rifle at the blue-skinned, multi-eyed creatures.
Aleph asks Jocelyn if she's okay.
Jocelyn, lying on the ground, confirms she is fine.
Dong Young-soo points and shouts for the group to go this way.
Dong Young-soo looks confused or surprised.
Jocelyn urgently tells the section chief to hurry as a nearby character's helmet appears damaged with a purple substance.
Aleph and another team member run from a blue-skinned, multi-eyed creature.
Aleph asks Dong Young-soo if he is having hallucinations, and Dong Young-soo replies he thinks so.
Aleph shows a concerned expression.
A blue-skinned fist punches with intense force. A person in a white suit looks up as a multi-eyed creature with blue glowing hands appears to stop. The person in the white suit explains that these creatures only temporarily lost control. Speakers blare loudly, broadcasting distorted messages in an unknown language. A blue-skinned man with white hair and multi-eyed growths commands the strangers to approach.
Dong Young-soo in a white and yellow suit and another character in a black and yellow suit express their confusion.
An unseen speaker declares that God is descending as figures in suits observe a massive organic structure in the distance.
A blue-skinned man asserts he will summon God here, while a person in a white suit questions if God can be directed.
The blue-skinned man clarifies that God is omnipresent for efficiency. The blue-skinned man explains that Kalima is nearby, making him efficient for the descent as they observe a large structure.
Purple liquid splashes as workers in white suits interact with complex machinery.
A person in a white suit with a blue face observes the scene from atop a large structure. A person in a white suit tends to a massive segmented machine.
A person in a white suit proclaims that it is Raja's turn now as others surround the large machine.
A blue-skinned man with spiky black hair instructs others to protect Dong-Young-soo from pheromones.
Two blue-skinned figures and a person in a white and yellow suit acknowledge the instruction.
Figures in white suits walk towards a man in a black cloak standing before large ornate structures.
The blue-skinned man with spiky black hair observes the figures in white and the man in the black cloak.
The man in the black cloak stands atop a large machine connected by numerous tubes.
The blue-skinned man in the black cloak crouches, operating a device that emits blue sparks.
Blue electricity crackles intensely around a segmented tube.
A large segmented machine emits a cloud of pink smoke.
A blue-skinned person in a white hazmat suit watches others rush towards a massive structure with a blue-skinned man at its peak.
Multiple large segmented machines emit pink smoke, connected by white tubes.
Figures in white suits observe a glowing purple aura.
A man in a black cloak climbs a ladder on a massive cloud-like structure.
The white-haired blue-skinned woman, Kalra's sister, calls out Kolderma. The white-haired blue-skinned woman instructs the man in the black cloak who is climbing a ladder to prepare the descent ritual.
The blue-skinned man with spiky black hair affirms, holding a device as the white-haired blue-skinned woman holds another.
The white-haired blue-skinned woman operates a control device that crackles with electricity.
The white-haired blue-skinned woman covers part of her blue face with her hand, showing a subtle expression.
An intricate ritual circle glows with purple energy and smoke, encompassing a multi-limbed creature at its center. Blue electricity crackles along a large segmented tube.
Pink smoke billows